Yes, guys, how you doing? Welcome back to the Spurs Talk Show. It's been a little while, actually, since the season finished. We haven't done a Devil's Advocate, but we're back. Dave is here. I think he's just disappeared off the background somewhere. Johnny's here too. We've got loads to talk about today. Obviously, what wasn't part of the planned discourse was going to be Timo Werner. And nearly here we go, and near we go for the loan deal extension. We're going to talk about that. We've got news out regarding Johan Langer's approach to Callum Hudson, Odoi. We've got to go through various striker options. And also I want to know what these guys think about. These two are the aforementioned maestros when it comes to the under-21 system. And obviously, Mikey Moore hasn't played a minute for the under-21s, but he has made a debut for the first team. So with his unbelievable record and form happening in the under-17s for England continuing, what's the plan with him? What about Lancashire, etc.? We're going to cover all the strikers, guys. Then we're going to move backwards to the midfield. We've got James Maddison's comments to get through regarding patience, and Tottenham fans should be excited. Then we've got all the other stuff regarding Archie Gray, Sudakov, big money for him. Hojbjerg, maybe not going to Juve anymore, going to Atletico. Conor Gallagher, looks like it's almost going to happen, or will it happen? And then we're going to move backwards to defenders. Before we get into any of that, let me just ask how the boys are doing. Johnny, let me know how you are, mate. I've just got to run downstairs and open the door for Bugsy. And when you finish doing your intro, Johnny, can you hand it down to Dave to let everyone know how Dave is doing as well?
Bloody good, I'd say, old chap. Yeah, listen, first things first, huge congratulations to the under-21s. I'm absolutely gutted. I had a wedding yesterday. I'm sorry if the people who are there are listening. It was a lovely wedding, but my heart and soul was down in that under-21 final. I was absolutely gutted. I was watching it on my iPad.
At the wedding?
You know, happy but sad that I wasn't there. I mean, I've seen all the dross and the thing, and all I wanted to see is us lift the trophy. I even went to the bloody women's final, hoping that I would see something. And the other final against Fulham, where we got tanked 4-0. So, but big up to the boys. Fantastic performance. And well deserved, and showing the first teamers how to do it. So big up, congratulations, and let's hope we'll have some more of that next season. But great to be back, Sean, and
great to have you back,
what's
mate.
Ever coming.
Yeah, well, like I say, lots to talk about. Great to have you back, mate. I can just imagine when they're going, if anyone at this wedding has any reason to suggest why this man and this woman shouldn't be married, please speak now. And then you're watching on your iPad and you see a missed chance. No! Dave, how you doing, mate? Welcome back to the Devil's Advocate and the Spurs Talk Show. How are you, buddy?
Yeah, I'm keeping well. My man had a few days breakaway in Manchester, so I'm feeling refreshed for the summer. That was nice. And, of course, coming back to the under-21s, winning the Premier League too, which was, amazing to see. Delighted to see them actually get what they deserved, after that cup final. I was a bit worried heading into this game, but they finally got what they deserved, and congratulations to them.
Especially after 100%. Australia, Dave. Especially after that trip to Australia.
Yeah, and don't forget they played a couple of extra times in the week leading up to that as well, so they had a lot of minutes and a lot of travel in some of their legs, and they still found a way to get it done. So fair play to them. But look, I'm sure we'll get onto that a bit later on, because I do have something I want to say on the under-21s and a bit of a class of '92 we seem to have coming through.
Yeah, I mean, it's exciting times with some of these players that are all kind of coming together. It's just about trying to get them their minutes, make the right loan moves for them that need them, and not jeopardize Tottenham's plans for their first team season, but obviously also find a way to give the guys opportunities where possible. We've loads to talk about. Like I say, we're going to segment it by positional end of the pitch, and we're going to work through each topic that way. Before we get into it, guys, let me quickly run through and say hello to the members. I want to say a massive hello to everybody. It's 205 people already in the house, which is amazing since we just started. Welcome to everyone. Please smash the like button for me on the video. You know how to do it. It really helps the channel out. Hit the subscribe if you haven't already. We just passed 25K, by the way. I will put out a video saying massive thank you to everyone. But the two people I really want to thank, I guess more than anyone really, apart from the subscribers from day ones all the way through to yesterday when we got over the number, is you two. Dave, you're my sort of day one guy. You and Jack from the Irish Hotspur. I remember all the way back. I think it was the Burnley game that was snowed off in 2021. Yeah. And I literally that day, I didn't know anything about YouTube Tottenham community, found out the We Are Tottenham TV thing, saw it for the first time, paid the £5 membership, phoned in, last person to speak, and then you say, "Oh, the game's called off. So do you want to just have a chat anyway?" And then we went into a raging leave you out debate. And about a week later, you invite me on your channel, and the rest is history, right? So
is that where you gave birth? Is that where you gave birth to him, Dave?
That is exactly that. Yeah.
No,
it was a weird one.
Do you know what it was? I didn't agree wholeheartedly with everything Sean came on and said, but I enjoyed the conversation. I enjoyed the back and forth. So I just said, look, Shawnee, if you're around and you want to come on, feel free, and the rest is history. And here he is, 25,000 subscribers later. So, and look, it's a lot of it's down to your hard work as well, Shawnee. You can 100%. Go around thanking people and stuff like that, but it's, at the end of the day, it's you that goes and does the research, you that puts the videos together and stuff like that. So fair play to you.
Yeah, no, I appreciate that, mate. But like I say, wouldn't have happened had it not been for that weird day. If the Burnley thing hadn't been snowed off, then that conversation wouldn't have happened, and none of the rest of it would have done. So, massive thank you to you and to Jack, obviously, for letting me come and stream on your channel a lot in the first year. Johnny, obviously, this season just finished, mate. You've been a regular on the channel as well.
Yep.
Obviously, I'll put out a video. I'll go through all of the thank yous or whatever. Another time, but just for you two, whilst you're on, I want to say a big thank you to both of you. With a massive part of the.
I love the show.
Growth.
I'll be honest with you. It's really easy. Even when we disagree, it's like we're not shouting over each other, which is refreshing on YouTube.
yeah, it's a rarity for sure. It's a rarity. Although the last show I did actually,
oh my God,
shouting over, didn't it?
Yeah.
That was a mad one. But yeah, boys, thank you so much, and thank you everyone who's been a part of the journey, who's watching right now. But listen, let's not worry about that today. We'll talk about that another time. Let me just quickly, in the interests of getting into the content, let me say hello to the members as I always do. Kulu's elusive right foot, which I think this must be Hammy's changed his name. It's a new one. I've not seen a trio this good since the Three Amigos. Nice one, mate. Great to see you, mate. Hope you're well. Robin Owen's in the house as well. Good to see you, Robin. Who else we got in the house who's a member? El Dante's a member. Afternoon all. Hope everyone doing good. Good to see you, mate. Thanks for coming on. Spurs GC TV. Afternoon, guys. The meltdown is insane. If you take a step back, it makes sense as long as there are more signings to come, especially in the wing. Yeah, we're going to talk about that in just a second. We've got Drew Ziller in the house, who big up to everyone. Let's go. Big up, Drew. Member for 11 months, he says. Big shout out to everyone. Best show on the tube. Smash the like and subscribe for these fine gents. Thank you very much. Yeah, by the way, guys, forgot to say, get over to Johnny and to Dave. Johnny on Twitter, Dave on the Irish Hotspur. Links in the description. I'll also be throwing them out throughout the show. Make sure you get over there and smash the support for those guys. Spurs GC TV, member for 7 months, says, smash the likes, folks. Appreciate you, mate. Drew with a massive super chat. Thank you so much, mate. It's very nice of you. So generous. 25k. Congrats, Sean. It's well deserved and a great achievement. We move on to 50k. Yes, the next one. 100%. I think it'll be a long time before I do a 50k video, if it ever happens. But but mate, so nice and so generous.
Never
mate. You don't
say never, Sean. Never say never.
We'll see. We'll see what happens. I'll probably put my foot in it somewhere along the way. Say something that's cancelable and get shut down.
Like, hello.
Yeah, it happens all the time. The Big D's also in the house. Member for 5 months. Big up, fellas. Love the Devil's Advocate. Keep it up. Yeah, it's my favorite show of the week, to be honest. Julian Biggs here as well. Well done, Sean. Big 25k, highly impressive, but signifies the effort you put in. Appreciate it, mate, very much. Guys, right, let's get straight into it. So much to talk about, so little time. To everybody else, thank you for your attention. Please hit the likes and subscribes and get over to Dave and Johnny. Links in the description and also coming right up. Dave, I'll start with you, mate. Timo Werner, the news out for Fabrizio Romano is that the loan deal, it's not going to be a permanent signing. It's going to be a loan deal. Tottenham and Leipzig are progressing conversations to get this one done. I mean, the fan base is in meltdown. Levy out is already trending. I've already spoken to people on WhatsApp that are Ange out. Certain groups are just going into meltdown. I think the window hasn't even opened yet. And people are already calling the window a failure because of a Fabrizio Romano tweet. Are we jumping the gun a little bit here, Dave? Or is it something that, how do you feel about Timo Werner coming in for one more year?
Look, first of all, it's far too early to judge the window. That's something you do towards the end of the season, after pre-season, when you're gearing up to start the Premier League. I think it's far too early to judge it. Look, for me, the fact that Tottenham don't want to sanction the purchase of Timo Werner means they weren't highly enamoured with him last season. So I struggle to see why they're looking to bring him back in. However, the fact that it's a loan and we're only sort of shelling out some of his wages, hopefully not as much as we shelled out this season, 185k. it sort of fills out the squad a little bit. But I've always questioned with Timo Werner, even when the 16.5 million was on the table to sign him permanently, does he solve an issue in our forward line? And I don't think he does. Up front, he's not going to score you enough goals. And out wide, he's not going to create you enough opportunities either. So for me, I don't quite understand why we're going for someone like Timo Werner. I wasn't impressed with him this season. Don't get me wrong. I think he had a bit more. I had really low expectations. So on that basis, I think he had a bit more of an impact than what I thought he would. But nowhere near enough for me to take him on again next season. For me, it's the one big problem that no one really is talking about an awful lot is that forward line. That's one that has to be absolutely correct. And I think it alleviates some of our defensive problems, some of the pressure on the midfield as well. And I think that's where the big money really needs to be spent. And I think one thing we should have learned after letting Harry Kane go is average Joes ain't going to cut it in this forward line. We've tried Werner, we've tried Brennan Johnson. It's not going to work. You need absolute quality. You need devastating quality in the final third. And that's where we need to get to. Now, look, of course, it doesn't mean that Tottenham ain't going to go out and look for someone else. But I think bringing him on loan might hinder how much they're willing to spend or how far they're willing to go on other signings in the transfer window. How, will they go gung-ho for the rest of the forward line? And for me, I don't think they will. And I just question why they're bringing in Timo Werner. You got likes of Mikey Moore coming through. You got the likes of Donny coming through, people like that. And I think it also sort of blocks up the pathway for them guys. So I'm not quite sure what the reasoning behind it is. I don't think it solves any issues.
Just quickly staying with you before I come to Johnny on this one, just running with what you said there about blocking up the pathway. Are you more on board it because it's a loan deal than if it was a permanent 4-year contract? Or do you just are you anti the whole thing anyway? Basically,
I'll be brutally honest. I'm pretty anti Werner. I don't see what problem he solves. He doesn't solve a problem creating goals. He doesn't solve a problem scoring goals. And the fact that we're looking to bring him in on loan again means we weren't enamored with him in the first place over the half of the season that we've had. So I struggle to understand that. I get maybe bringing him in on loan and maybe taking a bit more pressure off someone like Mikey Moore or Donnelly and giving them extra time to develop behind the scenes and stuff like that. But what these young kids need is game time. And Timo Werner's just going to take up that game time. So for me, I'm just completely against that. I don't want Timo Werner at this football club.
Wow. You don't want Timo Werner at this football club. That's quite a powerful statement. Johnny, I'll let you run with it where you want to go. Just quickly, guys, Dave's link is in the chat, is in the thing there, and here's Johnny's as well. So make sure you get over there and smash those links for them. Johnny, just quickly, go where you want with it. But just to play devil's advocate, because I'm not a massive fan of Timo Werner either. I think he's okay. He's an okay player. I don't think he's worth 185 or whatever it is grand a week. I think that's crazy, and I think that sets a really bad standard. But that's not his fault. Just like it's not Ndombele's fault that he's getting paid what he gets. It's Leipzig's fault and Tottenham's fault for the previous one. But if there's only 110 million pound, I'm pretty convinced that there's only going to be a net spend budget of about 100 million pound, 110 million pound this year, just like there has been for the previous 5 years on average.
I think it could be less, actually, personally.
Maybe, right?
Well, depending on sales.
Yeah, and then obviously sales will come in and hopefully support that. But if you've got 3 or 4, key areas you want to improve on, and maybe one of them is a winger,
this is my point.
Is a loan deal for Werner the end of the world if you're going to go and spend 50, 60 million quid on a Rafinha or whoever else, or a striker and a 6? Like, do you have to make your money work to a certain degree?
So for me, I'm definitely in that mindset. If you're saying to me, look, Timo Werner, he's not popular amongst the fans, let's be honest, right? We all know about his finishing, right? He can't finish his dinner, but he does have a good football brain, okay? He does have attributes. He has a lot of minuses, but he does have pluses, right? And I view this game now as a squad game. And the one thing that we are seriously lacking is strength in depth. And my worry is, I was more worried about spending the 15 million and wondering whether that was going to take it away from our expenditure, as opposed to a loan. For me, a loan is a fair deal, because I still think that Leipzig will be asked to cough up some of the money. And I think that will enable us to attack other areas. I'm in agreement with Dave that the attack needs to be addressed. If we're buying another striker, and we're getting Werner on loan, I'm happy. We need a 6. We need another creative midfielder. We need backup left back. There's so many areas in this squad that we need backup for. I think it will very much depend on the outgoings. We want to sell players. Is there a market to sell these players? And if there is, how much money do we bring in? I would be quite happy if Timo Werner is sat on the bench and we don't see him for 2 or 3 months, right? And then he has to come in when we got an injury crisis or there's an injury problem, and other players who we then go on to sign are performing. Because let's be honest, Sonny hasn't been performing on that left-hand side. It's hard to say hasn't been performing when he scored 17 goals and the assists and everything. Richie, if Richie's on form, Sonny's on form and Johnson's on form, then he's not starting. So for me at the moment, if it comes off, I'm not upset about it. I know many will be seriously upset about it. But as Dave said, the transfer window isn't even open and they're going into meltdown. And I'm meant to be the negative one, right? So let's embrace it. He understands the system. I do think he has a good football brain. His foot finishing is atrocious and it needs to be improved, whether you can or not at this age. He needs to go and see a shrink, I think, to get the mental strength behind, having the confidence to finish when he's in these positions. But I do think he'll offer something.
Yeah, I mean, look, for me, just quickly, I land closer to Johnny than I do to Dave. Like, do I like Timo Werner? I like him as a person, as a player. I think he's funny as hell. But with regards the footballing side of him, I'm with you, Johnny. Like having him on the bench playing hopefully a lot more games next season, having him not as a starter, not as a forced option, and bear in mind that we only needed him this year because of all of the chaos that happened to our injuries, losing Perisic, losing Solomon to long termers. Brennan Johnson was down injured as well. Richarlison, there was loads and loads and so much disruption to our forward line that in an ideal world, when you sit there and think, are you going to get a better player than Timo Werner on loan to supplement what you need, especially if you're then making room in the squad by selling Brian Hill? I don't know what's going to happen with Manuel Solomon, but I think that there's an argument to say, like, you have to wait and see. You have to wait and see what happens with the window. But if it does happen, if he does come in and Brian Hill does leave, in terms of like Mikey Moore, we're going to talk about those guys in a second. But like for me, God knows if they're ready. They haven't played a minute in the under-21s. And I think the under-17 level looks too easy for him. But is a massive leap up. So I don't know what, Will Lancashire, we'll talk about these guys, but are they blocking pathways for the young players coming through? I disagree with that, Dave. I think I think it's necessary to have quality in depth. And I think he's not, if we signed him on a permanent deal, I'd be a lot more unhappy than if we signed him on a loan.
Dave's point of being mindful of blocking is 100% valid. But what I would say to you is by having him, Dave, as only a loan signing, it gives us another year for some of these players to establish themselves. Because I'm sure you'd agree with me that on the whole, that a lot of these players have still got, and maybe another year, some of them, before they can really state their case, some of these players. So I don't mind the year. I would be more concerned, as I said, if it was a £15 million 4-year deal, then I could see your concern. Sorry.
I just think I think the ambition you show in the transfer market is reflected across your season. For instance, many people made the case, could Tottenham have went a little bit stronger, flexed their muscles in the market where no one else could move and buy someone in here? Better than Timo Werner. Timo Werner, especially against Newcastle, big chances fell to him, and there's other games that he didn't take them. And that's where it comes back to haunt you, was on the football side of things, in them games, in them moments. And that's what my fear of it is. We talk about, he's coming in here as a backup. But like this season, okay, we had players like some that went off to represent Korea and that. But them injuries that happened this season, if we're sitting here thinking they're not going to happen next season, it's naive. They are. If anyone watched the Newcastle documentary that's on Amazon Prime, they've done all the research into it. Statistically, when you go from a season with no Europe into a season next season with Europe and challenging on all 4 fronts, you carry a lot more injuries, a hell of a lot more. And that means our squad players are going to play about 20 odd games a season. And that's where that's where it's going to come back and affect you. Some of the squad players, we already have people question their quality, and we're just making the same mistake going forward. I believe I get it that it's on loan. I get that maybe we're trying to fill out the squad. Ideally, what we need is to be able to register a full 25-man squad and have 4 or 5 of them under 21 players sitting there in the under 21s that we can bring up at any time because they don't have to be registered. You want a squad of 30 players. However, Werner will come back to cost you on the football pitch during the season. And for me, the quality is nowhere near good enough.
He might do both. Listen, look, if you're asking me, do I want Nico Williams or do I want Timo Werner? It's not even a question, right?
How about this, Johnny? In terms of GA per 90 or per minutes played, a goal or an assist per minute, he's got in the 13 games that he played for us, 13 appearances, he got one GA, five GA in total, one every 160 minutes, which is about 2 minutes difference to Moussa Diaby. Right. So I know stats might not necessarily satiate people, but just to point out that in terms of per minutes played, Moussa Diaby and Timo Werner, in terms of per minute per GA, no difference. You look at Ollie Watkins, who's a player that most Tottenham fans would love to sign as a number 9. I'm pretty sure he missed more big chances by almost twice than any other player in the Premier League last year.
He plays.
Here's my problem.
Yeah. I was just going to say, the problem is here, like, Timo is playing under the microscope. He arrived here already been overanalyzed from the point of view, the guy doesn't score goals. He's a terrible misser. But quite interestingly, when I spoke to all my Chelsea fans, mates who are Chelsea fans, and listening to them, the interesting thing, not one of them had a bad thing to say about him. It's like he's arrived here and already he's toilet, right? Already. Yet the Chelsea fans, where he's meant to have been an absolute disaster, he's not considered that. He wouldn't be my first choice. I could list you a whole load of players who I'd like to see in front. But if buying him, renting him, loaning him for the season allows us to fill the key position, renting him out. Well, we are renting him, aren't we?
He's a rent boy.
If we're renting him out for the season, but it enables us. Right now, we don't know what's in store. We know that there's a plan. The plan is well in place, right? So what I'm saying is, if we looked at the end of the window and we got our striker, we got a fantastic 6, and we got another centre-back, and we got all these players, but we had to trade off somewhere, and that trade-off was Timo Werner. I'm willing to accept it, is what I'm saying.
Right, same. Yeah, I completely agree. It all depends on what happens. Like I'm seeing it's a couple of super chats. There's a few people commenting saying, I see Sava making one. I've lost it now. It's in the disc background, but Sava was saying, so our starting wings next season is Solomon, Kulusevski, Johnson, and Werner, and people are going to be scared of playing us. But the window hasn't even opened yet, Sava. But before we get there, let's get to some super chats on this topic. Sava's saying he is terrible. Let's start being real. Ange talks about winning mentality and then signs Timo Werner. Is this the best our scouts could do? Nothing changes. If nothing changes, Werner should not be at Spurs. First and foremost, thank you very much for the super chat, Sava. Very generous. I'll always bring up your comments if I see them anyway, so you don't need to do that stuff. But
can I just answer
Johnny, go on.
Just very quickly here, right? The thing is, right, the scouts are bringing various players to Ange, and he's given his seal of approval to X, Y, or Z. So, let's not blame the scouts here. Ultimately, this is why I always said, if our ethos going forward is to dare us to do, right, and we're going to play attacking football from here on in, whether it's Ange or from this moment we're going to get an attacking manager, from here on in, then the manager should only be getting the say-so, I believe, on 70% of the transfers. The 30% should be an eye on the future, still with the mind on the attacking philosophy of the club. Because if he keeps making these mistakes, if Johnson was his and this one, and Timo is his, and Maddison's, and they don't work.
But why are we saying that Johnson's a mistake? Just out of curiosity.
No, I'm not saying. He's got 5 goals. Some would say he hasn't been a success, and others would say he's been a fantastic success. It's all measured differently.
I think he's definitely not a failure, and I think he's definitely not He's definitely
Not a
not like
failure.
not smashed it
Not a
out of the
failure.
park. But to write him off after one season, I think
No,
is
you
harsh.
can't write him off. He's 22 years of age.
22 years of age. Dave,
I still would have rather Anthony Gordon, but there you go.
Well, yeah. But you know what, though? When we were linked with Anthony Gordon this time a year earlier, the same people that are now saying that, I'm not saying you, Johnny, so I don't know what your take, I didn't know you back then. I don't know what your take was back then, but the same people that I'm in WhatsApp groups that are saying, why couldn't we assign Anthony Gordon? And I go into the search history of that WhatsApp group and type in Gordon, scroll back 2 years and say and I see people, those same people saying if we sign Anthony Gordon, it just goes to show exactly what sort of club and what Levy is doing for this football club. And so, maybe in a year's time, people will be reflecting on their Johnson calls.
It's the aggression. For me, I like my players to have a little bit of nasty side to them, as well as the skill. And for me, Anthony Gordon has that. And Johnson, lovely fella, lovely boy, but he doesn't seem to have that at the moment.
In a coma member for 8 months says we will have Tina and Brenda on the wings next season. Careful in a coma. Don't want to get cancelled for misogyny. Tom Martin with a super chat as well. Thank you very much, Tom. Congrats on the 25k subscribers, Sean. Love all your videos and takes on news and stories. Best Spurs tuber by far. Sorry, Dave. Dave, do you want to say anything to Tom?
No, look, no need to apologize. I don't profess to be the best either, so appreciate that.
No, like there's no best, is there? It's all just everyone giving their own takes. But thank you very much, Tom. I appreciate it, mate. And frankly, Tottenham saying, here we go again. Levy going the cheap route again. So frankly, appreciate your super chat. Again, for what it's worth, I've seen some people on Twitter reinforcing this message that the stadium is this £1 billion millstone around the neck of Tottenham Hotspur. Like there's this kind of line in the sand that it's almost like it's a negative until it becomes a positive, which I don't understand. I think it's nice to have nice new things, nice shiny stadiums. I don't know why people want to see it as a problem until it proves itself to be otherwise. I think it's great to play in the nicest stadium in the world. So I don't see it as in the same viewpoint initially. But on top of that, the stats would suggest, I said this to Johnny backstage, I've crunched the numbers in terms of transfer budgets per year, net spend, since Daniel Levy took over, and the average net spend per year from 2001 until 2019 was £15 million or 50 million euros. Sorry, so about £12 million. And the net spend from 2019-20 season all the way until now is 105, I think it is, million euros. So about 90 million pound, 107 million euros. So about 94 million pounds, something like that. So in terms of has the stadium provided us with the ability to compete? Well, the evidence of I know there's more to it, like transfer market budgets weren't the same, that the inflation wasn't back the same in 2001 to what it is now. So I know it's a very simplistic argument, but in terms of just numbers, flatline numbers, the fact is that £1 billion stadium in the last 5 years has allowed us to spend 6 or 7 times more money every single season than it was over the previous average period for the tenure of Daniel Levy. So the stadium does allow us to compete. Whether or not we spend the money in the right areas, which is where Timo Werner and that comes in, that's for a different debate. But the stadium itself shouldn't be held to the standard of whether or not the stadium, or whether or not the scouts make the right choices on the players. But thank you very much for the super chat, mate. I think that we do spend a lot of money. There's definitely a debate whether we spend it correctly, and the Timo Werner one will for sure roll on. Boys, I want to move away from Timo in the interest of time, because there's loads of other strikers and loads of other forwards to talk about.
What time is it? Timo time.
It's Timo. It's time to Timo off. Let's look at the other news that's out there. So Callum, Hudson, Odoi, a link that we've been seen to have over the last, 2 or 3 weeks now. Done a lot of videos on him. Statistically, I don't hate him. I think he does, offer us something. But do you put him in the underwhelming bracket? If Timo's underwhelming, is Callum Hudson-Odoi underwhelming? Probably. I'd understand why you would think that. For what it's worth, Johan Langer, apparently, according to some decent sources, has poured cold water over or basically vetoed the Callum Hudson-Odoi story. He doesn't think that he's the solution. What's also interesting is that Chelsea, apparently, I was listening to a Nottingham Forest stream earlier. I didn't know this, but Chelsea sold him to Nottingham Forest for £3.5-4 million last summer. And I think there's somewhere between a 25 to 45% sell-on fee. So if Tottenham were to, or someone else was to take Callum Hudson-Odoi, then Chelsea might get themselves out of the FFP problems
Was
indirectly.
it the end, Sean? Was he not at the end of his contract and on the verge of going for nothing to Bayern Munich? Or
I don't know. That might be true, but I don't know. But apparently, listen, according to the, I don't know the player's detail. It was really interesting listening to this Nottingham Forest stream. They all think that he's that they don't want to sell him for less than 35 million quid, which I think is too much money for him. He's also got a massive Achilles heel problem. Not like a metaphorical Achilles heel, but like a literal Achilles heel that it might snap it. Like every time apparently he goes down holding his heel, they're all worried that he is going to be out for a season again. Johnny, I'll start with you on this one. Callum, Hudson-Odoi, when you bake in what the suggested transfer fee would be, the player itself, the injuries, and the fact that you'd be helping Chelsea out, is there any desire for you to see Callum Hudson-Odoi come in? Or
listen, before the injury, he was really hot property, right? Really hot property. And rightly so, because he was putting in some fantastic performances. But it was a big, big injury. And, those talk of those moves, like I said, to Bayern Munich or to Borussia Dortmund never materialised due to that injury. And hence the reason why he went to Forest. It's a bit of a come down from Dortmund and thing to a promoted team like Forest. For me, he's not a player that takes us to the next level. So it's a no from me.
Do you think it would have been one of these two? Like, do you think that we were looking at Callum Hudson-Odoi as an alternative to Timo Werner?
No, we don't need to buy it. Look, I'll go back to it again. I think we only gone for Werner because it frees up funds to go and buy the key positions. If you're saying to me, if I give you Timo Werner, but you're going to get your six, your striker, and another key position,
another winger, yeah,
right? I'm in. I don't expect him to be starting every week. That's for sure.
I agree, Dave. Callum Hudson-Odoi?
No, not for me. Not for me at all. Look, I think he's an exciting player. He does a few tricks and that, and he has spurts where he shows a bit of end product. But for me, the consistency isn't there over the course of a whole season. Completely stay away from it. What I will say is, though, that we will be in the market for homegrown players this summer. So people are going to have to sort of wash their hands with that. And, we ain't going to go out and sign the best of English players because they're going to be 100 million plus with sort of extra on top tax. So we are going to be looking around in the market at some of these other Premier League clubs that are a bit lower us, where it's a bit more of a better fee so that we can bolster our homegrown side of the squad, because it is one area that has let us down in years gone by.
Yeah, okay. Well, boys, let's move away, or let's a couple more stories on this one. Obviously, we've got Josh Zirkzee, a player that Tottenham have been linked with. Listen, I've been educated because I watched this guy on the Y Scout tour and I wasn't impressed. I'll be honest, but I don't follow Serie A. I always say Serie A, not really something I spend a lot of time watching. So I'm always happy to be educated. But I put a video out saying that I think he's clumsy, and there must have been 7 or 8 different people that said this guy is one of the best up and coming talents out of Italy, or not. He's not Italian, he's Dutch, but coming through that world, even though he was sold from Bayern Munich, I think it was. But he might be going to Juventus, guys, to follow Thiago Motta. So first and foremost, if that does happen, then that chalks him off of our number 9 list. What it would also do is potentially make Dusan Vlahovic's future at Juve a little bit more unsettled. We don't know what sort of relationship Motta would have with Vlahovic, whether he's sellable to bring in more funds to rebuild for Juve. It's all very open-ended. Before we get to the young players that are coming through, because that's the last topic on the forwards I want to discuss with you. But in terms of striker links that are out there, we've got Ivan Toney. Apparently, he's willing, he'd jump at the chance, according to 1 or 2 ITKs, to move to Tottenham. Dominic Solanke, another one that keeps coming up. Josh Zirkzee. Any of these names? Dusan Vlahovic. Any of these names sort of ring out to you as the solution?
I think Vlahovic will end up probably somewhere like Arsenal. Personally, I think they'll probably go for him. We need a striker. I don't know. I can see us going for someone like a Solanke personally. I'm not saying that's who I want. I can't see Ivan Toney fitting in with good old Angie's wholesome, one of the boys' philosophy, to be truthful with you. I know. What do you think, Dave?
Look, for me, Ivan Toney would be the only player on that list I'd actually go for so far. Look, I think Joshua Xerxes had his time. That guy's been rumoured to be coming through for the last, I don't know how long, nearly, it seems like a decade at this point. You know, he's had sort of a good season at Serie A, but, you know, it's 11 goals, 4 assists. It's not fantastic either. So for me, I don't see why we'd be pulling the trigger on him. Santiago Jimenez in the Dutch league, I'm very hesitant of pulling players out of there, especially strikers after Vincent Janssen. That guy was banging in 30, 40 goals a season over there and couldn't cut it in the Premier League. For me, when I look at a striker, what we need is, I think, we need someone that can play with his back to goal first and foremost. We all always sort of automatically look at the goal return, which is a huge, we do need goal return, but also, you know, the link-up play, and that's one thing that's forgotten in the forward line. You know, someone that can get on the ball, hold it up, play others in when he's got two players trying to jostle him for possession and stuff. We took that for granted when we had Harry Kane. That's one thing that we really did take for granted, how good he was at actually holding up the ball for us and helping us get up the pitch. And for me, when I look at Ivan Toney, I think he's got a lot of attributes that make a really good striker. He can hold the ball up, he can spray the ball around, he's got a good touch, he's got a very good finish, he scores penalties and he takes free kicks. You know, for me, I think all around, he's the best player for what we need in this system, you know, going into next season. And that's what I'll be looking at. You know, the hold-up play plus the goals, not just the end product, because sometimes you can have a striker that suits a certain system where you can put him in behind every time. We're not going to get that at Tottenham next season. Teams are going to sit up low block until we find a way of beating it. And the only way of doing that is having a guy that's an all-around complete striker. So we have to go and get him. I'd love Vlahovic, but I don't think it's going to happen.
No, I mean, he's a presence. And I look, I think Ivan Toney, I'm with Dave. Yeah. I know it's meant to be devil's advocate, but I'm with Dave. I like a nasty player. I like someone who's got that little bit of an edge to them. And I think, you know, when I watch someone like Romero and Porro, Bentancur and Richie, they've got that nasty edge. And that nasty edge is that Roy Keane, that winning mentality that people don't like playing against, you know? And I don't think there's a fear when they play us. I think we're, you know, a nice bunch of boys. You know, no, I want him to come out and thinking, oh, my God, we're playing Tottenham next week. What a bunch of nasty bastards. So, I would go for Ivan Toney. The drop-off at the end of the season, you know, a little bit of drop-out with Thomas Frank, who I think is a superb coach and is better than Brentford. But I don't know whether it was the personalities or the fact that he's going, that he's... you know, hasn't been.
His behaviour generally, though, like, it's not just about his arrogance on the pitch, but you know, I worry a little bit, right? I don't know why. Like, does he have a gambling problem like the fella at Tonali at Newcastle? If you do, then if he does, then that's a potential ticking time bomb. If he doesn't, and he was just gambling because he doesn't give a toss about the rules, and you know, F you, I want to just do what I'm me, I do what I want, then that's also a ticking time bomb. I really like the player, but there's going to be shade that's going to come. Like there's not like a beautiful sunny day thinking about that transfer. There's potential problems along the road on the road. And about Santiago Jimenez, like you have to remember, he's not Dutch coming out of Holland. He just happened to move there from Mexico or from Argentina. I know he's Argentinian Mexican. I think he's Mexico is where he was before. So
what about the other?
Quite the same as
I get that, but name me a Dutch player that's come out of that Dutch league over the last decade that's gone anywhere across Europe and hit numbers. There hasn't been.
Okay, but you could look at Suarez was a non-Dutch player that went there.
Yeah, but that was back at the time. That was back at the time when the Dutch league were producing players: Jan Vertonghen, Moussa Dembele, Christian Eriksen, Toby Alderweireld, like you said, Luis Suarez, people like that. But over the last decade, even that last great Ajax team. Van de Beek went to United, didn't work out. Ziyech gone to Chelsea, didn't work out for a large degree. A lot of their best players have gone across Europe, and it hasn't really worked out for them. The Dutch league ain't producing the caliber of players they once were.
Okay. Can I just say...
That's a fair point.
No, I was just going to say, you know, there's two players that I think, you know, are not even on the radar that also play for Brentford up front. And I think...
Yes, sir.
Brian
Bueno,
right?
yeah.
And Wissa, right? Okay, those should be more of the players that we're talking about. And, you know, when you talk about Timo Werner, you know, would we buy a Brian Mbeumo? What would the fans' reaction be to that? Because for me, Brian Mbeumo is got it all. You know, he's still very, very young. He's improving. Yeah, he had a bad injury, but look at his stats before the injury. He was absolutely ripping it up. And Wissa's done a good job. That's
You'd
why
swap the
Tony's
Brentford front like that. You swap the Brentford front three for Tottenham front three, wouldn't you?
Yeah.
All day long. Yeah.
So that's what I'm saying. You know, I thought more conversation would be had from Spurs fans about Brian Mbeumo and potentially Wissa as being interesting additions to some, because they have pace, they have power, and they have trickery. What do you think, Dave?
Look, I like them. I think they've done very well for Brentford. But when I compare them to Eze and Elise, I think Eze and Elise are a step up. And, if you're talking about going to Brentford, why wouldn't you go to Palace and try and get them out of the club first rather than go straight to Brentford and try and pull them out? Look, for me, that forward line is all about the quality right now. It's got to be absolute quality coming in. It would alleviate a lot of our problems with key teams off a lot earlier in games, which means they have lack of belief. They're not catching us come towards the end of the games. And for me, that's the one big area we really need to get it right.
Dave,
we can't afford to buy twice. You got to buy once now on this one and get the best out of Sonny.
Honestly, mate, I've had this conversation. You buy Eze and Elise, you go all out, you buy those two. I don't care about the rest of the team. I'll get by with what we got left in the squad. I kid you not, right? Yeah. I'll go back with number 6 or whatever. Without the 6, you give me those two, I guarantee you we're scoring goals, we're winning more games. We'll look a completely different team. I know about the injuries and all the rest of it, but those two are game changers. But the reality is, Dave, in our wildest dreams, we could get one, right?
Yeah.
In our wildest dreams, we could get one, and that would be Eze. Elise is more.
I think we're signing him. There's someone else saying that. I think Terry Wright's saying that here. I think we're signing him already. I think there's that conversation is not. When you hear Ange saying, we've done our work, we've identified the players we're after, like the work has been done. Now it's a case of getting it done. I think that Eze has been worked on for the longest time. And I know he's CAA base and stuff, so maybe there's a connection there. I know we can't.
Him and Sonny, remember they were hugging each other after one of the games.
Exactly.
Yeah,
they were at the fashion show. They were at the Berghvall fashion show together, right? Like hugging it out, right? I mean, listen, look, I think it would be 75-80% of Spurs fans' dream to get Eze, because he is so Tottenham. He's got Tottenham stamped on his chest, the way he plays football. It's what we've grown up watching, the fantastic players of the Ginolas, the Waddles, and all of that, who carried the ball in the same manner he does. It's our dream. But I'm trying to be a little bit more realistic. Yeah. That's my dream. That's my hope. But if we're not going to be in that market, which I hope we are, then those two, Mbeumo and Wissa, were just sort of throwaway lines. But I'm 100% with you, Dave. Those two are game changers. And if we're serious, like Arsenal went out and bought Rice, if we're serious, you go out and you buy those two because you know they can play together. Look at Palace without them, and you add a 6, and I think, hello, different game.
Yeah, well, listen, 100%. Get those two, and it is. And I think that both of them, it would cost a lot of money. Palace have got their own little project going on. Their chairman doesn't like to spend money, tries to keep things relatively compact, but they pick apart, they sell Elise and Eze. Can they, does it completely ruin their ambitions under Glasner? I don't know. It'll be fascinating. I personally agree with Terry Wright. I think that Eze is, if there is a statement signing, we're going to come to statement signings with his super chat. If there is one, I think Eze probably is the most likely for me. But Phil says Werner is I'm trying to work out what your intention of this message is. Werner is a smokescreen for better players coming to the club, which sounds like you're on board with Tottenham's transfer plans. And then you're saying marquee signings are things of the past at Spurs. Do you see that changing this summer? Which sounds like you're not on board. So I'm not sure where you're coming at with this one, Phil. Dave, how do you see it with this super chat?
I understand what he means. Like, when was the last real marquee player we've gone out and signed? People can say Maddison, but that was an easy one to do once Leicester got relegated. That's not really a marquee signing. So when was the real last marquee player we've gone and got? We're not really doing that under a Paratici sort of transfer plan. However, the more we fill out the squad, the more opportunity we have to be able to get them players. If I'm correct, I think either Elise or Eze, one of them have a 50-60 million buyout clause this summer. So why not investigate that? and go and trigger one of them. We spent 47 million on Brennan Johnson. Why not stretch the extra few pounds and go and get someone like an Elise or an Eze in here?
It was less, Dave. It was less, Dave. That's the point. This is the point. This is what I don't understand. Elise was available for less than 47 million.
Well, but he signed a new contract, didn't he? Chelsea triggered the
clause. It was still less than 47.
No, I hear that, but Chelsea triggered it, and then everyone thought he was going to go to Chelsea, and then
he didn't go.
Then obviously, they turned around and signed a new contract. So,
but why didn't he go?
You have to remember, just because there's a release clause doesn't mean that everyone wants to leave where they're happy. Maybe Elise thought it's better for his progression, and it's not proven to be a mistake. Would you rather be at Chelsea right now or Palace if you're at the start of your career? At Chelsea, you're not going to get as many minutes. You're competing with a bunch of arseholes, and you've got absolute donuts in the board that haven't got a clue what they're doing. I saw Bowley wants out of Chelsea last week. I saw was a headline. I don't know if there's any truth to that, but I don't know. To me, Elise, just because he had a triggerable fee doesn't mean that he was going to come. Chelsea tried it and they failed, Johnny.
I think it was more Chelsea, though, on the stockpile of players that they had. And, where would you see him getting game time? I think he probably seen. And this is what I maybe like about the guy is he could have easily went for the glitz, the glamour, the bright lights and all the money.
Correct, Dave.
He chose the development of his career and this season. And I think the factor of him signing a new contract was if a club does come in this summer, a bit more money for Palace, and he'll probably have a lot more options available to him to go to this summer rather than just Chelsea. And I think I actually like him because he preserved his career in that way. He's out of Chelsea this summer. He ain't going to be staying there.
He wins. He wins every way, Elise, because at the end of the day, right, what he's done, he's not gone to Chelsea where he knew, like you said, Dave, he wasn't going to get minutes there. He was going to fight. He's guaranteed minutes here. He's guaranteed eye candy, right, with his performances, and he got a massive wage rise, massive, and he's got a buyout clause. So all in all, no one can hold him like Louis Zaha, who didn't have a buyout clause and ended up spending years and years and years because no one would pay what Palace. He was almost like a slave there. They wouldn't let him go. No one was going to pay that money, and so he was stuck there. He's got his fixed fee, right, which is a reasonable fee. He's got his wage rise and he's getting to play football. And at the end of the summer, I would think he's either at Man United or said other team. He could go to PSG. I mean, he could go anywhere. He's that good.
Yeah. Couple more super chats, and then I want to move on to the last topic regarding the forwards. We're already 47 minutes in, and we've got so much more to talk about, guys. By the way, there's 850 people watching on YouTube, another 500 people elsewhere. So it's over 1,300 people watching this right now, which is madness. So please make sure you smash the like button on the video, hit the subscribe. If you're participating in the comment section, all you got to do is hit the subscribe button, and then it will open up, and you can chat. And if you want to unsubscribe after the stream, then do so. But, hopefully you'll hang around.
It's only if you say something bad about Ange.
Yeah, exactly. Well, I'm sure there was something bad will be said at some point. Jimenez will flop, says Jeffrey. Personally, I like Openda. I'm a massive fan of Openda. Massive fan of him. I did a video on him, I think it was yesterday. John Wenham, Lily White Rose, the guy who's mad about he's all over the kids. That sounded weird.
What do you say? Is the Jimmy Savile of football? I mean, come on.
He's all over the under-21s of legal age.
He's done a fantastic job, Lily.
Yeah, amazing guy. Very intelligent the way he talks about the youth systems at Tottenham. Anyway, he says Openda would make the most sense. I love Openda, but he doesn't help us out aerially at all, and he doesn't help us out in terms of the front foot press. But thank you for the super chat, Jeffrey. Massive fan of Openda. Don't see it happening, but
talking of height, apparently, I haven't got my ruler out, but I was informed that we are 7 centimeters shorter this season than we were the previous season.
Everyone can always do an extra 7 centimeters.
I don't believe it's the reason why we can't head a ball or defend a corner, but I would like to see, obviously, Berghvall coming in at 6'2" will swing it back in our favour. But I'd like to see some of our acquisitions have a little bit of height and a bit of nastiness about them.
Yeah, 100%. No, same. Look, I mean, if we could sort out our aerial, whatever the opposite of prowess is, aerial inferiority complex, then we would concede 20 goals fewer than we did last season, which would be a massive shift in the right direction. Stu is saying, shout out to you, Stu. Appreciate the super chat. I would love to see Tony. They can see a world where we revisit Ferguson and Jimenez. Look, I mean, I'm going to call out Dave on this one. If you're still there, Dave, I know you're lurking in the background. I don't know if you're still listening, but
I think he's up the loop.
But he was talking about signing Evan Ferguson all last year or last summer. He wanted us to go out. You know, if we're going to lose Harry Kane, we've got to go and get Evan Ferguson. Evan Ferguson didn't pull up trees last season. I know he had a couple of injuries, but yeah, it was a bit of a flop. Bit of a flop last year, Dave.
Yeah, but look, injuries.
I'm only reminding you of it, Dave, because you remind me about the Gift Orban situation all the time.
Yeah. No, I know.
Dave, what's he down to now? He'll only be worth about Brighton Maloney, about 80 million for him now, right? Million, from 100? Yeah.
No, look, he'll still command a big fee. I think many clubs are well aware of the talent that he possesses. Look, injuries curtailed him at the start of this season, and they've hampered him throughout this season. It's been the same with Ireland as well. But every young player sort of goes through that adaptation period where they go from the youngsters into the senior team and getting your body to adapt with men's football, harder hits and stuff like that. But trust me, I'll revisit this next year and you'll be saying sorry, Sean.
Okay. All right. Listen, we'll clip it. Let's move on, guys, to the last topic on the forward line. We've still got to go through the midfielders. By the way, there's also breaking news, not to jump ahead, but Brandon Austin has got a 5-year deal today.
Hang on a minute. Let's go around and celebrate.
No, well, yeah, 100%. We'll talk about that last up because we'll do goalkeepers last. But
what a career he's had.
Unbelievable.
Let's salute the career of Brandon Austin. Was he 25 or 26?
5-year deal. Listen, we'll come to it. We'll come to it when we come to it. Last topic on the forward line is our options coming through the under 21s and also the people that are on loan. And there's lots of them. So we've got to discuss. I mean, Troy Parrott, he's had a really good season out in Holland. His comments were about that the plan for him is to come back to Tottenham. Well, that's what the dream was always to be that, but he doesn't know what's going to happen. You got Dane Scarlett, who hasn't exactly benefited from 3 failed loan deals.
Yeah.
You got Mikey Moore, who's banging in goals for England, who has skipped past the under 21s altogether to get his first minutes against Manchester City, and I think he played against Sheffield United. Maybe I'm wrong on that one, but two first team performances already. You've got Will Lancashire, who is also the under 21 Premier League 2 level player of the season.
Yeah,
guys, listen, you guys follow the under 21s more than I do, so can you fill me in on who of these players is ready, who isn't, who needs a loan, who should be sold, who should be kept around and then given the minutes when possible?
Should we go back and forth, Dave? We'll go back and forth.
Yeah.
Work back and forth. So I'll just throw one out there. Listen, for me, he's not ready, but what a goalkeeper Gunter is. What a keeper.
Oh, no, sorry. No, just the strikers, Johnny. Just the strikers.
Oh, sorry, just the striker.
The forward line, the wingers as well.
Anyone would think this show had structure or something. Okay. Lancashire,
Scarlett, Parrott, Lancashire.
Yeah.
Moore.
So Lancashire for me is probably. I still believe he needs a loan. I mean, we get carried away. 21, he's banging in the goals in the Premier League 2. He needs a loan, and this is where I'm really keen that we get this right, because I don't feel as a club we're getting anything right with these loan deals on the whole. Valise, he's come to this club, to this country, and he's trying to learn English in the way of life in England. He spends 6 months here, then they send him off to bloody Spain. And he sits on the reserves. He would have been better off at a championship club, even a League One club, where he would have been better off knocked about. Correct. And getting knocked about and playing games. I don't want to see this anymore. So all of the players we're going to discuss here, someone needs to sit down and seriously consider what's going on with these loan deals. If they're going to sit on the bench, we can't afford it anymore. We cannot afford any more of the Scarlet loans and some of the other horrendous loans that we've had over the last few years. Lancashire, for me, really good prospects. Arsenal, Sheffield United, back to us, £2 million, which was quite a lot for us to pay for a guy of that age. But, he's got bundles of talent. He's a good finisher, but he's not the finished article, and he needs to go out on loan. Dave?
Look, first of all, I completely agree with you on us loaning out players. In years gone by, we've had hot property coming through, and they've been washed up in the loans. You know, it's been absolutely shocking.
Correct.
I'd argue some of our players, I don't see the point of sending them down to League One, League Two. I think they'll get bullied and swept up down there. I think some of their ability, like Therese Hall, Donnelly, and who's my other one? Therese Hall, Donnelly, and there's one more.
Yeah.
Well, these guys are midfielders, aren't they? They're more midfielders, right? Can we try and
especially Donnelly, Mikey Moore? They need to be kept around Tottenham, and they need to be developed around Tottenham rather than send them out on loan, because I think you lose them if you send them out on loan. For me, I would much rather keep them, develop them into the type of player we want, and I think they've got the natural talent and the natural ability to be able to play in this system, given time to make the adaptation up to the senior team, you know, next season. And I believe the opportunities will be there if we're playing you're with the Europa League. Our season could be 60 games long, so there's going to be some opportunities there. And I would say the club should use it similar to what Arsenal did to bring through the likes of Smith Rowe, Saka, people like that in that competition. You know, they blooded them with the right sort of mix of senior players around them, and look where they are now. So that's what we should do. When it comes to Will Lancashire, I agree with Johnny. For me, there's a lot made about his 32 goals, but I'd argue he could have 50, 60 this season. He's missed some absolute sitters as well. And I think in senior football, I think the reason why I think he'd be better off going out on loan is because I think the one area that he actually needs to improve, I think his all-round game is good. His hold-up play, the runs he makes and stuff like that. I think the one area he needs to improve is in matches in senior football. Sometimes you only get 1-2 opportunities, not 6 or 7. And I think that's where he'll have to learn to become clinical. So I believe a low move for Will Lancashire would serve him very well.
What sort of level is Lancashire ready for?
Look, for me, on this one, I actually think you could put him down to Championship, League One, League Two, or any league across Europe.
Yeah.
Because I think he's got the frame, and I think he's got the know-how to play striker, you know, the hold-up play, being able to play others in, the link-up play, you know, and then get on the end of chances. I think you could put him anywhere, and I think it would actually work out for him, to be brutally honest. There's a lot made about Sunsup Bell and Santiago. Look, I think Sunsup Bell on the whole has had sort of a good season, but towards the tail end of the season, it really tailed off for the guy. I have concerns about whether he's going to make it. And Santiago, there's a lot of hype around this guy, but he's on the older side of the under 21.
Is he 22 now, is he?
22 years of age, yeah. And he's only got 1 year left on his deal. So I feel that game we seen him in the final was his last game for Tottenham, and I think he'll probably be sold or allowed to move on somewhere for free this summer. So for me, in the forward line, it's Mikey Moore, it's Jamie Donnelly, and Will Lancashire out on loan, and I'm not sure what will happen with Sunsup Bell, but Santiago, I think, will be gone this summer.
For me, Parrott, fits and starts Excelsior, isn't it? Yeah, Excelsior fits and starts.
He's too injury prone.
Pardon?
He's too injury prone, Troy Parrott. He's not going to make it.
Would you sell him for like £5 million?
Oh, there's a lot of clubs interested in him.
Yeah, I think what will happen is he'll come back, probably go on tour to Asia, get injured, and then go out on loan again. No, I think he's. Don't see him at the level. I don't see him at the look. You know, there are many players that have to go backwards to come forward. You know, football's littered with players that have failed at major clubs. Look at Eze. You know, thrown out of many clubs. You know, they had to beg for him to go to QPR, right? Beg, because they didn't think he had it. And now, you know, the rest is history. And, you know, look at someone like Solanke, you know, failed at Chelsea, didn't hit it at Liverpool. And here he is at 25, coming up 26. You know, he's hit his stride for Bournemouth. So it can happen. But I don't see right now at this moment that Troy Parrott has... the minerals basically for it, to be honest.
Yeah, Troy Parrott is too injury prone. You know, the whole idea of getting him out on loan this season was to recover for some of the injuries he's had last season. And look, the team he went to in the Dutch league, it's very hard to score goals, and he's done a very good job of it, don't get me wrong. And I know that Andy Skolden has been out there keeping an eye on him and tracking his progress over the course of this season. However, I know there's a lot of clubs in Holland, Italy, and I believe there's a couple in Germany potentially looking at a move for Troy Parrott this summer. So even if he doesn't get to go on pre-season, he's one we should get cash for.
All right. Sounds good. Sounds good to me, guys. All right, we're going to slide back now down the squad into the midfield. We've got some stories to talk about in that part of the world as well. Before we do, we've got Blaine Devlin, member for 9 months. Big up, Blaine. Good to see you, mate. Thank you for the support ongoing. Feck me, I've caught the three wise men live. Love the silly season period where every name and their dog gets linked.
Yeah.
I'll judge on August the 30th. Big up, lads. Listen, you could judge on August the 30th, but we got to talk about it every day. You know, man's got to eat. And we have to get the noise out there. Listen, there's loads and loads and loads of things. Thank you very much for the support, Blaine. Loads of stories going on in the midfield world. First of all, I'll come to James Maddison because I had a tab open with his comments, but I've lost it. I have to go and find it. Let's start with the Conor Gallagher noise. For all intents and purposes now, the Times are reporting that he is the strongest and most likely story to happen to come out of Tottenham and Chelsea this year. The fact
Just
that
quickly, Shawnee, Fabrizio Romano has come out with an update. Tottenham are set to announce the first summer signing of Timo Werner on a new loan deal. Loan valid until 2025. Still the buy option for 15-16 million and Spurs to cover his salary.
Is that right now? Is it here we go? From
Fabrizio Romano.
To announce their first sign of the summer, Timo Werner. Yeah, bang. Well, there you go, guys. Listen, let the meltdown commence. Listen, I'm okay with it. I'm with Johnny on this one. It all depends on what else we do, because I know you can't. There's not a limit. There's not an endless bucket of money to dip into. It all depends. But thank you for the update there, Dave. Yeah, let's start with Conor Gallagher, Dave, on this one with you, mate. Looks like, according to the Times, that they believe that he is the Tottenham's #1 candidate, and that under Abramovich there was like a transfer embargo, basically. It just wasn't happening between Tottenham and Chelsea. Very few deals, if ever, were done under his reign. But under the new owners, they're more open-minded, more openly willing to allow things to happen as long as it suits. And Chelsea need to sell in order to make FFP contributions. Obviously, they've got Trevor Chalobah they can look to liquidate if they wanted to. I won't talk about Chalobah right now because we'll save it for the defensive situation because of the likelihood that maybe what's his name's going there as well, Tosin Adarabioyo. We'll save that for the next segment. Conor Gallagher, though, on paper, he's the most likely according to the Times. Is he someone that you would welcome into the club?
Personally, for me,
hang on, sorry, Johnny. I said
no. Go on.
Sorry.
Go on.
No. Sorry, go on, Dave.
Look, for me, I can understand why Ange Postecoglou would like Conor Gallagher. I think he gives you a lot of energy in that midfield. I think, he can do the defensive side of the game, and he can also play a little bit. And, he can score goals. I can understand why Postecoglou wants him for that midfield system, because we do need someone with a high engine, high work rate, high energy in that midfield. Do you know what? I don't dislike Conor Gallagher, but he's not a name that gives me a chubby, if you know what I mean. It's sort of, look, I understand we're going to pop into the homegrown market. And if you're looking at the homegrown market right now, especially in terms of midfielders, is he probably one of the best that's available that's on the market? You would probably argue yes, in terms of that natural midfield position. So I can understand it. Look, I wouldn't throw my toys out the pram. I don't mind Gallagher. I just think he needs to get a haircut. I don't like man buns. Same with Dragusin. We don't want to end up like Leeds were a few years ago with all the man buns. Every single player, they end up getting relegated because they cared more about their hair than they did football. So, change the hairstyle and he can come to Tottenham.
I got to be honest. I've not a fan of the man bun myself. Never worn one. But I think Dragusin, when he's come in and I saw him at Sheffield United behind the goal, actually doing what our defence should have been doing in the previous 37 games, is pushing attackers away from the keeper, throwing them on the floor, elbowing them in the back of the head. That's the sort of shit that I like. So he rocked the man bun. As for Conor Gallagher, I prefer to look at the Conor Gallagher that played for Chelsea, Crystal Palace, where he played in a more advanced role. I think he's absolutely perfect for Ange Ball. Would he be my first choice signing as a midfielder? Probably not. But when I'm looking at the system that Ange plays, I think he's absolutely perfect for it. He's Oliver Skip with more skill and more leadership. And you know, I'm not a big fan of Oliver Skipp, which should sound like a mass contradiction, but I think Gallagher gives us tenacity, bit of nastiness, because he has got that as well, and goals if he's allowed to move forward. And let's be honest, you know, we're not scoring enough goals from the middle of the park. James Maddison, 4 goals this season. Come on. You know, that's just shocking, right?
Yeah,
I don't get any excuses for 4 goals, you know. You know, Romero's got 5 goals. You know, it's not good enough. And Conor Gallagher playing in a deep line role, obviously struggled for goals himself. But when he has got forward in the last few games where Poch pushed him forward, he was much more of a threat in the final third. So I would take him. I think Spurs will only buy him. They will be squeezing Bowley down to the ground to try and get him for 30, 35 million instead of the 60. And if we can get him for 30, 35 million at his age, I think it would be good business.
Lastly, I will add to that is one thing I actually do like about Gallagher is when I'm watching him at Palace and Chelsea, regardless of the midfield around him, he's grabbed the game by the bullhorn and sort of looked to dictate it and looked to sort of turn it in his favour. And I do like players like that. I'm not saying Gallagher's, you know, the answer to everything. You know, I'd really like us to look at that Ederson guy at Atlanta and stuff like that. But, you know, I can understand if we're trying to build a squad, I can understand why why Ange Postecoglou would go all out for him.
100%, guys. Yeah, listen, I completely agree. I understand it. I'm not that. I go back and forth on Conor Gallagher. Like, part of me thinks that he offers that bite, that tenacity that Johnny talks about, that I think is necessary. I think one of Tottenham's biggest problems is we're too lightweight in terms of mentality, in terms of the willingness to be a little bit nasty. One of the reasons why I really love Mikey Moore, I had no idea about this. You've seen the video where he was doing that to the Spanish player last night. Absolutely love that. You know, just like, I know it's probably not ideal to be doing it at 16 years old. Maybe you need to kind of like tell him to have a little word with himself. But at the same point, he's got that side of him where he doesn't mind having a bit of a wind up. And I think that Tottenham players generally, we allow ourselves to get kicked around. You know, sometimes you need to stand up for yourself a little bit more.
Yeah.
Players like James Maddison, as much as I love the guy, too interested in throwing darts and getting annoyed with other people copying his celebration rather than, you know, like
rolling around on the ground,
up for the bite in the game, you know. Sorry, Johnny, what was that?
Yeah, no, and rolling around on the ground. But listen, like when we were 16, we were all going like that.
Yeah, 100%. I still did it. I did it earlier on to Bugsy.
You did it last week.
Yeah. Next story is Piere Emile Hojbjerg. So because of the move of Thiago Motta looking likely to move to Juve from Bologna, then Hojbjerg's move to Juve looks like it probably off, which means that he might have maybe one option fewer to go to in terms of bigger teams. Atletico Madrid readying a bid is what we've heard, but there still might be, you know, struggles with the financial side of the deal there. We saw last summer, guys, that Hojbjerg had the chance to move to Fulham, didn't take it. He had the chance to move somewhere else. I think I'm not sure if it was Scotland or somewhere else, but he didn't want to go. He didn't want to go to any team other than the level that he thinks is his level. And to me, that's fine. I appreciate that mindset. I think he's absolutely within his right to believe that. But when you start to go, well, how many teams are of the level that he thinks are appropriate for him? And then you filter out everybody else. And then how many of those teams have the money to buy a Hojbjerg? So you filter out the ones that don't. How many of those teams want Hojbjerg or need a Hojbjerg? Filter out the ones that don't. You're not left with a lot. And to me, Hojbjerg's move away from the football club, much like Lo Celso, will dictate a hell of a lot this summer for Tottenham. So I want to ask you this, I'm going to kind of incorporate a few different names here in terms of that role. But Hojbjerg, Dave, you mentioned Ederson. The Ederson deal is hinged upon Hojbjerg moving on to a certain team, him moving for decent money. Do you see that happening? Or do you see there being like a loan deal, like what do you? I mean, I know he's only got a year left on his contract. What do you see happening with Hojbjerg? Do you really see there being enough options for him to get the move that he wants?
It's more so the price that we'll be asking. You know, is there going to be clubs that are going to be willing to pay that price? I'm not quite so sure, but I think this is where the club might have to look to take a small bit of a financial hit if they really want to maybe progress this squad over the summer. Look, we only end up paying 15 million for Hojbjerg, so anything over that is a bonus. The fact that he's gotten older and he's retained his value. Look, it was only not so long ago Real Madrid were potentially looking at coming in for Hojbjerg. I feel with Atletico Madrid, I actually think it would be the right move for someone like Hojbjerg, especially working under Simeone. I think he'd absolutely thrive in that sort of system. But we've dealt with Atletico Madrid. Matt Doherty, they sat there, took advantage of that, didn't get a fee. Sergio Reguilon only loaned them. Are they really going to stump up the fee for Piere Emile Hojbjerg? I'm not convinced on it. Look, for me, I'm not quite so sure, but I do think there are clubs that would like Hojbjerg, but it comes down to how much we're looking for, and the wages that he's looking for. Can other clubs afford it? I think, unfortunately, on this one, I think we'll be at the hands of the mercy of the European market. And I think this is one you'll probably see happen later in the summer rather than earlier, unless a club have 35 million sitting there and can go and get them before any other clubs can.
I agree, Johnny. Do you agree with that? The timing of that, but also more importantly, does Tottenham have to make a move earlier? Like if what Dave's saying is true, and I think it is, that it's going to be a late one, if anything, then does Tottenham have to go and make the move to go and get an Edison or whoever they want in? If it's not if Conor Gallagher is the utility player, fine, fair enough. If it's Edison, that's more of a specific role for a specific type of player, then whatever. Or any of the other players that might be out there. But does Tottenham need to bring the player in and then risk that being leveraged against us with it in terms of Hojbjerg? How do you see that one whole playing out?
Well, that's the dilemma, isn't it? Do you buy, get your business done, and then can't move the player on because they know you want him to move on, or do you do the other way? For me, go and get your business done. Yeah. I'm looking for strength in depth. I want Edison and I want Gallagher. I know that sounds ridiculous, but we have things called injuries. I would get rid of Bissouma. I know it's probably not a popular conversation. When I say get rid of him, I'm not saying actively get rid of him. You get rid of Hojbjerg because we know he is a good footballer, but he does not suit this system. We all know that, so he has to go. But I'm saying if someone comes in with a good offer for Bissouma, if they do, then it would be something that we should maybe look to entertain to enable us to bring another player. So, if we're getting Gallagher and someone comes in for Bissouma, I'm happy to get rid of Bissouma and bring in Edison. So we've got both. We're looking for strength and strength in depth in all departments. And look, we've all seen what happened, right? The Chelsea game, we lost 5 players, 3 through injury, 2 through suspension, and it all imploded. And then we kept saying, wait till they all come back, wait till the players come back, you'll see the difference. It never happened, right? So I'm for strength in depth. And if we get offers for certain players, this is what I'm saying. I still think there might be a couple of surprise players that go this season. And maybe Bissouma will be one of them. I don't think anyone's looking to see Pape Matar Sarr leave. But, let's be honest, Bissouma, since those early days, up until the Luton away game, was fantastic. But he has not rekindled that form since he caught malaria again. So for me, Hojbjerg, do the business early, get Gallagher, or look, Chelsea have to do the deal before the 30th. Of 30th of June.
They
go off to the tournament starts on the 14th, the Euros and the Copa America on the 14th of June.
Did he make the squad?
I think he made the squad. Yeah, he's made the squad. So what I'm basically saying is that squad will be closed off a week before the tournament starts for any deals. So basically,
it's got to happen next week.
What I'm saying is it's got to happen. Some sort of formal deal has to be done next week. And this is where, if you're on an FFP, you need to do your business very quickly. Is there any player in the Copa America squad, your Murillos or anyone that's in South America or in the Euros, and you want to get your business done, you have to do it in the next week, 10 days. Otherwise, you're screwed.
Yeah. It's fascinating. I think it's going to be a busy week for us. All right, let's move on from the Gallagher story and let's talk about Lucas Berghvall, smashing it, scored another worldie. He's come over. He's looking excited. I've also got the James Maddison comments now that I want to kind of merge the two stories. I'm not entirely sure which position Lucas Berghvall is going to be talking about, but James Maddison. Position. Yeah, he can play everywhere, can't he? But James Maddison basically saying that I'm not sure this is the right comment section. He's saying that Tottenham fans need to be patient. I don't know where these comments have gone here.
Is that with him? Patient with him? I mean, I don't know.
Patient with him, patient. Yeah, I think. Yeah, here we go. Yeah, he's quite popular, isn't he? And he's a good man. He's a great character. I love working for him, and to see him in his country with the support he gets was nice to see. The first season of any new project is always challenging. It has its ups and downs. I'm really enjoying working for him genuinely, and I think we can achieve big things, hopefully. So the first year of many. It's very tiring. It's obviously a long fight. This isn't you know what? I don't even know what I've done with my. Here we go. Is this it? No, do you know what? I can't even find it. I'm reading out different quotes. In a nutshell, he says, Tottenham fans, be excited. Good things are going to happen, but you have to be patient. Rome wasn't built in a day. In a nutshell, I've screwed up. Can't find the quotes. Is James Maddison talking about himself, Johnny? Who's he talking about?
I think he's talking about himself, right? I think he's talking about himself, covering his arse, right? Let's suck up to the boss. He's an amazing fella. I love him. He's incredible. He's amazing. He brought me there. I believe in the dream. Meanwhile, I haven't delivered, right? Because I actually can't play in Angie's system so well because the midfield's so bloody crowded. I've got no room to move. So I've got to drop deep and pick up the ball and where I can't influence the game. Lewis Berghvall, right? Let's just skip to him from my point of view. Guy's 6'2", he's got left foot, right foot, right. Great aerial. I was saying the other day, the only weakness in his game is probably some of his finishing and striking. Well, he just dismissed that in the last 2 or 3 weeks with some fantastic goals. I really do think, and I don't normally say this lightly, that he really does look like he's going to come in and be a valuable asset from the off. Yeah. I mean, obviously, the speed of the Premier League is going to be an issue. For sure. If you listen to Mikey Moore saying when he came on, it was like watching FIFA, but you're not actually in the game. You're just, the ball's going past you backwards and forwards. So that could be his issue, but I think it won't take him more than 2 or 3 months to get into it. I just think that his ability to play with both feet, aerial duels, holding up the ball, playing with his head up, his vision, his take-ons. For me, I mean, he's already looking like a really complete player, and he's really, really exciting.
Do you see him being? I mean, I saw some incredibly stupid comparisons from some of our young players. I saw that guy who's on Twitter.
Yeah.
I forget his name. Invert the Wing, talking about Mikey Moore being the next Lionel Messi. Like, shut up, mate. What are you doing? What are you talking about? It's all good, but stop it. You're being a donut. And I've seen people making the same sort of comparisons with similar players in midfield. Like, I don't know whether Berghvall is supposed to be the next who, but
I don't care who he's supposed to be. There's a link with the Barcelona. Listen what Dave's got to say.
Is he more of a Modric? Is he more of a Is he more of a Kaka? Who is he more of? Who's he supposed to be more of a?
For me, it's very unusual to have such great feet for someone who's 6'2". Normally, that sort of.
Which is what I was thinking about Kaka. Kaka's a big tall guy who can drive. Who was driving with the ball. Made a lot of kind of.
Dave, what are you thinking?
Well, I think Berghvall is supremely talented, but it's a huge step up from the Swedish league where you've more time, it's slower, not as physical compared to the Premier League, where you alluded to yourself, the speed of things, the speed of thought has to quicken up, the physicality as well. Look, one thing I will say is I think we could mold that kid into any sort of midfielder that we wanted, whether it's the creative midfielder, whether it's that number 8, whether it's the number 6. I think the guy's incredibly talented. He's got a good passing range, can take players on, got an eye for goal, can create goals for other people. But is he going to step up and, have an impact from the start of the season? No, I don't think so. I think it'll be more towards the end of next season, or maybe in some of the games across Europe or early cup rounds of the cup, where you might see him get a couple of minutes here and there. But to expect this kid, at 18 years of age, just to walk into that top of the midfield and, take over like that, it's not going to happen. There's going to be a blood and in period and stuff like that. Also, for Ange Postecoglou to have faith in him, even if he comes on and plays well, with young players, Ferguson was famous at it, dipped them in and out at the right times. And that's what we need to do with someone like Berghvall. But I'll also argue some of the other youngsters we have. But look, I'm excited by the prospect. And like I said, I think we can nurture him to be whatever sort of midfielder we wanted him to be. But give the kid time.
I mean, if you look at someone like Lamine Yamal of Barcelona, he is the real deal. You can see it. I'm not saying he's at that level. I'm really not. But, even at his age, it's crazy young. Yeah. And, and he's actually doing it, right? I mean, he is a phenomenon in my mind. But,
he's been promised game time as well. Let's not forget when he signed, he sort of alluded to that he signed for Tottenham Hotspur because there was a better pathway put to him for the first team. He was promised minutes next season, so they're going to come somewhere.
I think he has the physicality, Dave, but I'm not saying he's going to come in day one, but I do think, within 3 or 4 months of getting to grips with the speed of the game, that he's going to be a serious player for us, because of the physicality, having 2 good feet. I'm sick of watching players switch back to their weaker foot. When you're trying to defend a guy who can go past you, can dribble past you with both feet. But not only that, his ability to find a pass, plays with his head up, right? I really, feel that he's something special. He's going to be something special. I hope I haven't burdened him with too much, but I mean that's my thoughts.
Last thing I will say is I don't think he's going to be the last player we're going to pull out of Scandinavia either. No. I think we're in the right market right now for a lot of where the next bloody youngsters are coming through. You've had Hurling, or Haaland, Odegaard, Kulusevski to a degree. You've got that guy Nusi. There's a lot of players coming out there, even out of Iceland. So I'm happy that we're in Scandinavia right now because the Belgium sort of pool is completely dried up now. It's moved out to Scandinavia, so I'm glad we're there.
Yeah, the other boy, Badaj, Copenhagen, he's injured. He's got a bad injury now, so I don't know if that one will be gone for this summer. I would have thought any links with him.
Next name, just because there's 2 more names I want to talk about quickly because they're in the press right now. One, and then I want to use the last of the 2 to merge into the defenders pivot. The first one is Sudakov, the player coming out of Ukraine. I mean, I've seen this link for the last 3 months, and I've been just dismissing it every day on my walks with Bugsy. I'm like, it's just irrelevant. It's not going to happen because of the whole the Shakhtar Levy relationship can't be good. But I also don't know what this kid's capable of. I've got no idea. I've looked him up on the Y Scout tool and see the links. He's the next, he's the next Christian Eriksen, whatever I've seen. But apparently he's got a 70 million euro asking price, and apparently Tottenham are
of course
very much interested. I mean, is there any truth in this one, guys? Is there any point in talking about this one?
Come on, Sean. It's true, mate. If you read it, it's got to be true. I mean, Spurs, no problem. 70 million, bang, drop it on the ground, right? We don't need Elise. We don't need Eze. We need this guy. Yeah, no.
Yeah. Okay. Dave, do you agree?
Yeah, I mean, like Spurs wouldn't spend 70 million on Eze or Elise, and they're not going to spend 70 million on Sudakov. And plus, Shakhtar are not going to deal with Tottenham because they got the raw end of the deal with Solomon. They're just not. Yeah. If Tottenham do want a player from there, it's going to be double the price, and we know Daniel Levy won't allow that to happen. So we're not forget about that.
Okay, well then let's merge this one. And if you want to talk about any other young players that are coming through in the under 21s in this segment, you can as well. The reason I'm merging this with the conversation about the next segment into the defense is because Archie Gray is a player that we've been linked with at Leeds. Obviously, Joe Rodon, looks likely he'll want to make the move permanent, but there's lots of different ways that Tottenham could take this one. It could be cash plus Rodon for Archie Gray or for other players like Somerville, etc., that we're linked with. I don't personally think we're going to go and get a Somerville. I don't think a Gnonto or however you say them. I think all those ones are just kind of fanciful and fairy tale. But Archie Gray is a player that I do think suits Tottenham's purchasing stylistically. I think it makes a lot of sense. I think he's a really good player. We saw what happened with Adam Wharton coming straight into the Palace team and smashing it out of the park. I don't know if there's what the level difference is, but so Archie Gray's the name I want to throw at you. And like I say, guys, if you want to use this last opportunity to talk about midfielders that are coming through the under-21 system, then use this opportunity now, because after this, we're going to move into the defensive world with Joe Rodon.
I love Archie Gray. Personally, I love Archie Gray. Listen, I wanted Walton, but the truth of the matter is that Walton come to Spurs, he'd probably be playing for the under-21s, right? He wouldn't even have been given any game time. And, if Archie Gray came to Spurs, is he going to get game time? Probably not underage. So I really, really like him, right? I really do. There's something about him. 18, he's there week in, week out, battling away in the Championship. Nothing phases him. He's playing well above his years. And but if we did sign him, I'd leave him at Leeds for another year, to be honest with you. So I whether or not that will happen, but for me, I would leave him there because I think Ange would not play him, and I just don't want to see a kid's development halted by being sat on the pitch. I like Somerville, 20 goals, 9 assists, not to be sneezed at when you look at what our contributions have been from our wingers this season. I think a lot of people say, "Oh, he's no good. He's rubbish. We should have such rubbish." There's a lot of snobbery from the Premier League and the Premier League fans looking down on the Championship that's not been good enough. I think it's been proved time and time again with players that have come out of the league. And, Jared Bowen, when I wanted him from Hull, it was like, what do you want him from? He's playing for Hull. Look at him now. And the same with many players that have come through that way. So Archie Gray for me would be the one I'd swap for Joe Rodon, but I would leave him out at Leeds for another season. Dave, what are your thoughts?
Do you know what? I really like Archie Gray. He's had a really meteoric rise this season. Like you, John, I've followed the kid this season because I've been following Joe Rodon. And it's hard not to be aware of the name. However, it's Leeds' biggest asset. They ain't going to sell him cheap whatsoever. So for me, I think that probably pulls us out of the market. If I was going to Leeds, especially for a forward player, it'd be Gununto I'd be going for. I really like that kid. I think he's got a lot about him.
Yeah, he's good.
Do you know what? For me, the main reason why I would stay away from Archie Gray is because I think Tyrese Hall is a fantastic player. When I look at that kid, I think he's got it. That guy, he knows when to slow it down, quicken up, takes the ball on the half turn. He can play, scores goals, turns over ball. For me, I'd much rather develop and give Tyrese Hall the opportunity than go and sign another midfielder in around the same age, because I think Tyrese Hall is absolutely
He's
fantastic.
not ready, though. I've got to be honest with you. I hear what you're saying, and I've seen a lot of him like you, but I've seen Tyrese play really well, and I've seen him play, go a little bit missing, but I would say to you that Tyrese Hall right now could not go into that Leeds midfield and perform the way Archie Gray is playing currently at this moment. And the other thing I would say is that Leeds are 190 million. Leeds are 190 million in debt on transfers, right? And they are going to need to sell players. They're going to need to. They might not want to, but they're going to need to. So it will be interesting to see, knowing our setup, where they're sniffing around Somerville, Gray, or Gnonto in this summer. Sorry, you were going to say about the midfield.
No, look, I get it, but this is the thing. Leeds have given Archie Gray the opportunity. We don't give our youngsters the opportunity, so we can never really sit there and say, oh,
Correct.
yeah, he can't make the step up or he can't make the step up. At the end of the day, instead of us going to these clubs and handing them 40, 50 million for some of their youngsters, start bringing through our own. We won the Under-17 Cup last season, the Under-18 Cup last season, and some of them players have also brought the success into the Under-21s this season. At some point, instead of looking at Leeds, and I get it. Like I said, I think Archie Gray is a fantastic player, and I think he's going to go on to be a big star in the Premier League in a couple of years. However, for me, use that money to go and beef up the forward line with real quality and bring someone through like Tyrese Hall. He's not going to play every minute, but there's going to be minutes there for him where you can dip him in and out rather than go and give other clubs money to allow them to go and do business.
I don't disagree with anything you're saying, but I don't believe Leeds have the cash. And what I'm saying is, they need a centre-back.
But there'll be a bidding war for him anyway, right?
Yeah, I'm just saying they need the cash and they need Rodon at centre back, and you know there's going to be other. There's going to be other. Look, I'm in full agreement. Let's bring the kids through. I'm not convinced that this manager is going to. I think Mikey Moore was lip service to make sure he saw that there's a future for him at this club, with many top clubs throughout Europe sniffing around Mikey Moore, offering him all the gold that he can eat to to leave the club. So there's that mindset on him. I really like Tyrese Hall, I really do. I just don't think if he was going out on loan next season and he went to Leeds, I'm asking you, do you see, because you see him as much as I do you think that he could dominate the midfield like Archie Gray? I'm not sure he's quite there yet.
Do you know what? I think he could, Johnny. I think give the kid the opportunity.
I really rate him.
Sometimes I think these kids just need that opportunity. And, when you're given that, yourself, some have the mentality and can't wait for it and go and grasp it.
Right.
Some turn around and go, this pressure's too much for me and don't take it. But I do believe, he got the step up.
You won't know until you know, right?
Yeah, but he got the step up from the under-18s to the under-21s. The reason why he was too good for the under-18s. Next question was, can he produce what he's doing at under-18s at under-21 level? He has, and that's why he was rewarded with getting on the bench against Man City, but also going out to Australia, and for me, he's made the step-ups. It's not like he floundered. He's had a meteoric rise this season, and for me, I think he's on that trajectory. I think it's set to continue if we give him the opportunity.
Yeah, I think that it's one of those things for me where it goes back to the same problem around, you were saying, Johnny, earlier about 70%, 30% manager signings to club signings. It's the same dilemma that you have when you have managers like Conte that are only here for 2 years, given a 2-year contract, and who only care about their own success and they don't care about setting up a legacy for the football club. They don't care about what's going to happen after they've gone. If anything, they want the club after they've gone to fall apart so that they can be the ones who say, well, look, it wasn't that bad. I did wonderful things when I was there with the shit show that was around me. And so with Ange, he's on a 4-year contract. You'd hope that he has enough time, if he's afforded it, to be able to bake in the opportunity to give these guys minutes, because ultimately his job depends on getting the best out of Tottenham's first team. But somebody has to give the kids a chance to prove themselves. And, you look at Harry Kane. Harry Kane only got his chance at Tottenham through the Tim Sherwood situation that was all very odd and weird. He went out on loan, but he came back from loan and still wasn't really part of the plans. And then it was because of that situation where he was
Tim
offered
Sherwood, wasn't it?
Otherwise, exactly, right? So you have to rely, you have to trust that a manager is not going to be solely focused on the here and now all the time, or punished to the same degree if he does give these players a chance, and then as a consequence of doing that, they're not ready, and then bad things happen in terms of outperformance. So you have to bake that stuff in. As a manager, it's difficult because you're paid. I've been a salesman for a lot, many parts in my life, and you have to ultimately, if you're not bringing in the money, it doesn't matter whether or not you're spending time training up account managers on how to be a better account manager. Your job is to bring in the bread, and it's someone else's to do other things. So, and I think that the manager has to. Yeah, it's a lot to juggle, right? It's the risk of giving these players a chance in hope
and losing a game. He doesn't want to take that risk. Yeah, I mean, listen, look, I believe Ange has had pressure from above that he needs to embrace some of these younger players, because there was definitely a reluctance to embrace any of them. I'm not going into any more detail than that, but what I would say to you is Dave and I are both going on. We both said it. We feel this is our class of 92, and I've been ridiculed for saying it. And, obviously I'm not going to be proved right or wrong probably for another 18 months to 2 years, but I've been saying it now for practically 2 years, just starting to see the seeds of that coming through now. But I'm not a believer that Ange is fully on board with some of these players. Some of the times that Jamie Donnelly's come on, it's been a bit weird, bring him on at Man City when it's 3-3, yet when we're 2-3-0 up, you're not bringing him on at all. It doesn't seem to make much sense to me. We all want to see the youth come through. The future of this club, I believe, and the success of this club is going to be our investment, which is still focused on recruiting the best 16 to 19-year-olds throughout the world, because we are not in the market to compete with £100 million. This isn't Levy's model, right?
Not yet.
No, we're not at the moment, right? But if we start to produce these players, and then we only need one player in one position because we've graduated all these players through, then we can be in the market.
Or you sell the ones that have done well but haven't necessarily.
Yeah.
Now you sell the ones that have got 25 million quid in them. You keep the numbers ticking over that way. But at the moment, how can you value what, I don't know, Dane Scarlett is worth? How can you possibly know what Dane Scarlett is worth? Because he hasn't done it for Tottenham and he hasn't really had a chance anywhere he's gone on loan. So it's impossible.
That's where you have. You insert clauses in the thing, so they do go away and they come back. We've either got a buyback clause or we've got a sell-on clause. But I just think that this model. Look, I was just told by someone a couple of weeks ago that Arsenal are looking to invest multiple millions now in their academy in the drive to only recruit top players from around the world in the same age group as what we have been focused on for the last 18 months. When Fabio first came in and I was going on about this, when I first met Dave, we started talking about this. People weren't interested in that. They were interested in the first team and what's going on there. Who would I care about what's going on in 2-3 years' time, right? But this is the heartbeat of the club. This is all of our future, and we mustn't lose sight of that. So I think that if we can balance between acquiring the right first team players and buying the likes of the Berghvalls, the Valizes, and all these other kids, Sosok, Bell, Lancashire, Hall.
Maybe you need to tweak a contract for a manager then and say, listen, I know it's not in your best interest to necessarily worry about what's coming up in the next 10 years for Tottenham because you're here and your job relies on the here and now success. But how about, we'll give you, I don't know, a 5% kicker in your wage or in your bonuses if you give 2,000 minutes to youth team players throughout the season. I don't know, something like that encourages him to go, actually, it is in my interest to actually look at these youth team players. Because otherwise, it's a rock and a hard place. The manager's judged on what he does for the first team.
Well, that's the problem.
He has to worry about helping out the next 2 or 3 managers to come. There's no incentive for him unless you actually make an incentive for him to do it.
Why do you think Harry was reluctant? Harry had this thing about Gareth Bale. I was going on about how great Gareth Bale was, and I had to sit there for 23 games, or not all at home, but a lot of the home games, and being ridiculed because he was never on the winning. He was never on the winning team. I do think though that although he's not here and he's not likely to be here, maybe again, or if he was, but I do think if Pochettino was here, I don't think he'd need any encouragement to embrace some of these players and be more willing to bring them through and blood some of these young players. I really do believe that. There are other managers that aren't interested, like Conte, for example.
Yeah,
but this is where there has to be a bit of pressure put on Ange. Look, Ange did come out and say towards the end of the season, once I have a more stable environment, that's where I can really sort of get a true grasp whether the youngster's good enough. I can put them out there in that stable environment. To a degree, I agree with it. But for me, it also comes down to taking risk. People go, it's a huge risk staking your career on youngsters. Kobe Mainoo at Man United picked up an FA Cup for Ten Hag. He's the one that gave him an opportunity this season.
And scored the goal. Yeah.
Look at Harry Kane when he came through for Tottenham Hotspur when we given him a chance. How much money did we waste on Janssen, Soldado, Adebayor, people like that, pissed about? But Tim Sherwood stuck his neck on the line for Harry Kane. Look what he went on to produce and how much money he saved us in the long run. There's Eddie Howe at Newcastle. His midfield was obliterated, pulled up Lewis Miley. Look at that now. There's plenty of other... Pochettino at Tottenham, when he pulled up the youngsters, it saved his career at Tottenham because because he used some of the youngsters, the fans were willing to give him a bit more leeway because they understand with the youngsters, they take time to develop and stuff like that. So rather than look at it as a negative all the time, it saved a lot of managers' careers as well. So
I'm with you. But you can understand, like, the natural inclination is to look after what's best in your own best interests. Yeah. And like, there's less risk in playing Timo Werner than there is playing Mikey Moore, right, at the moment. And so you can understand. Yeah, I'm playing devil's advocate. Like, you can understand the notion that, at least I know with Brennan Johnson, at least I know with Timo Werner what I'm going to get and what I'm likely to suffer. With Mikey Moore, yeah, there's a 10% chance he might score a goal on his debut and become the next Wayne Rooney or whatever else. But there's also the chance that he's going to give the ball away in the first 5 minutes or the last 5 minutes or whatever, and we're going to concede a goal and blah 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 blah, and then guess it's going to be Ange out. It's not going to be Mikey Moore out. It's going to be Ange out. So you can understand that the internal monologue that goes through your risk reward, sort of juggling act.
For me, if Ange Postecoglou was to give Mikey Moore minutes next year instead of Timo Werner, he would buy himself a lot more time, because fans won't. We've seen this.
With the fans, he will.
Yeah, I think the fans will, because, like,
if it costs you a top 4 spot, does Daniel Levy suddenly go, well, why did you worry about Mikey Moore? I need the 70 bar that comes in from being in the Champions League, bro.
I get it, right? But we've had international players sitting on the bench in seasons gone by, and people have no patience with them because of the level they're supposed to be at. People are, okay, come in and perform. You've no patience with them. With a youngster, you do. And I think that's where managers actually need to have a mind flip on it and say, hang on, sometimes these guys can actually save my career, or they can actually buy me the time I need to get everything else right around it. And for me, I just think, especially at Tottenham, with some of the golden generation we've got now, if you do not bring them through, I demand an internal investigation at the football club, because it should be a fucking crime if some of these guys don't get brought through. I remember picking out Mikey Moore last year in the under-18 cup final. I said to Jack, that guy's work rate will carry him into the professional game. Look at the meteoric rise this season, because he's never given up that work rate. For me, you look up the success that it brought.
It's crazy that he's over the under-21s altogether, though. To me, it's just madness, No,
I'm not saying a lot of them two together. That's where people misconcept. That's where people make the point, because they don't want to see it happen, because they don't believe in it. For me, I'm talking about a select few that are good enough. Mikey Moore, Jamie Donnelly, Tyrese Hall. They're players that you should be looking to bring through and develop and have out training with your first team. And okay, even if there's not enough minutes for them to get into the game team next season, you can still play them in the under-21 games to give them their game time and keep them taking over. For me, we really need to develop these guys coming through, because in years going forward, look at the success that the class of 92 brought Man United, the stabilization it brought to the dressing room for a good decade for that Sir Alex Ferguson to go on and thrive. For me, there's so much benefits to it, and we need to go ahead with it.
I spoke to Jamie Donnelly's dad at the
Arsenal game.
No, actually at the Fulham. I saw him at the Fulham.
I saw him again, yeah.
Fulham. Yeah, I was talking to him at the Fulham game, and he said Jamie wasn't really fit. But I was saying, this is great, but really, unless he's gonna, he needs to go out on loan. He needs to play football, right? And I don't believe that Ange is going to give him football time. I just don't. Doesn't want to sit there playing under 21. With the greatest respect, guys, right? It's all great winning and, proud of the boys, fantastic. But this isn't any, there comes a point where you need to go to the next level, which is why Dave and I were talking about Santiago. He ain't going to make it at Spurs, right? I see all the people saying, oh, we should bring him into the first team. He's 22.
Same
age as Johnson.
Same age as Johnson.
Yeah. You know what I mean? We're talking, let's just be serious, right? So I just think that certain players need to go away. I believe that there needs to be a pathway cleared for these players and knowing who we've got coming through. But the process should never stop. We should never complain. And this is why I've got no issue about having Archie Gray. We should never, ever complain that we've got too much talent. Our problem has always been we don't have any talent. Yep. I don't want to produce Winks and Oliver Skips anymore. I want to be producing Harry Kanes and top.
It's never looked as bright. The future has never looked as bright.
Never looked this good.
Currently.
Never looked this good. I don't care if I'm ridiculed. Class of '92, right? This is
Who's
ours.
ridiculing you? No one's really. I love that you said that.
I've had people take the piss going back because
Oh.
we're 18 months in now. You know what I mean? And none of these players, well, apart from 2 or 3, have started to trickle through. It's early days.
It's early days, mate. It's never going to be 10 players coming through, is it? It's only ever going to be 2 or 3 of them anyway. Let's be honest and make it.
Yeah.
Let's move on, guys, to the penultimate topic. You know what? No, let's just stick to the plan, Batman. Defenders. The noise out in the defensive world is Emerson Royal to Milan is likely. Apparently, Emerson is his cohort are in Milan looking to discuss terms of a deal, although Fonseca, the manager, hasn't been appointed yet at Milan. So whether or not it's agent noise or not, we'll have to figure out.
He signed with new Italian agents last summer. So, he's got meetings with Juventus and AC Milan, and also there's interest from Bayern Munich. So, the player that everyone says can't kick a ball is going to one of 3 top clubs in Europe, which is kind of amusing, really.
If it happens, are you happy to see him go? Apparently, Tottenham want to recoup all of the money or even a small profit on what they paid for him, which to me is crazy. I don't really see. All the story was Barcelona people were like falling over backwards laughing that we paid 25 million quid for Emerson Royal. There's something about the player that I really like. I don't necessarily think he suits the pace of the Premier League, but I think he would do very well in a different league, a top team in a different league.
Defensively, he's a good defender, right? He's not suited to Ange ball.
Very
right?
good defender.
Okay, just like Hojbjerg, is not suited to Ange ball, right? We all know that, right? But to say he's crap is ridiculous when he's been linked to AC Milan, Juventus, and Bayern Munich. Okay, but what my biggest worry is not selling him, but the same old, same old. Are we going to do what we did with Destiny? What I said last summer. Why have we not got backup? I said we should have kept Reggie on, because if Destiny gets injured, we're screwed. And look what happened, right? And I think the same is going to happen. You expect Pedro Porro to play 50 plus games this season?
Of course not.
No. So who's going to play right back?
Well, we haven't got to that. We haven't obviously. You got to sell before you buy. Maybe something. You got to move. You got to obviously it's somewhat. You either buy before you sell, or you sell before you buy. And if you sell before you buy, it allows you to then go in with with better options. At some point, you have to either buy or sell first. You can't do both. So Emerson to Milan for me. Look, as much as I really like the guy, I admire everything about his tenacity, his work rate, his ability to want to self-improve, to spend £1 million of his own money to try to do. I mean, I think he probably got ripped off, but £1 million for someone to like investigate how he can be more like the player from PSG, the Moroccan player from PSG, whose name I forget. Quite incredible. Mazraoui, quite incredible discipline internally. He's also stated that wherever he goes next, he wants to be about his mental health. So he's very clearly considerate of that stuff. Just quickly, whilst I'm getting through the other noise here, Pedro Porro was not included in the Spanish in the Spanish Euro team. His comments were brilliantly professional. Basically said he was excited about the prospect, didn't get it, but he's not going to sit here and moan. He's going to support the team, and he respects the players that were picked ahead of him. The manager of Spain came out and said that the player that he picked ahead of Porro was essentially like, Captain Fantastic. He bleeds and breathes Spanish Navas. Yeah. I think it's a madness that he didn't make the team ahead of Navas, to be honest. But listen, it is what it is. Not really. I don't know the Spanish world too well, so whatever. But at the end of the day, the defensive options in terms of play, if he is going to leave, then Tottenham need to find someone who not only can be backup right back, but also backup left back. We also need a left-sided centre back. And then when you look at the noise that's coming out, so Calafiori, a player we've been linked with, who was a left back and a left-sided centre back, incredibly talented. He's at Bologna. He's going to move to Juve to follow Thiago Motta. You've got Lloyd Kelly, who's likely to go about to sign a deal for Newcastle, who's going to be left back and left-sided centre back. You have Tosin Adarabioyo, who, for me, I see a lot of Tottenham fans going, like, why?
We don't want him. We don't want him.
No, I see a lot of Tottenham fans saying we're missing a trick on him. I'm like, how many more right-footed, right-sided centre-backs do you need? We've already got Dragusin and we've got Romero. As much as I love Tosin, I think he's a brilliant player. First of all, he turned us down once. Second of all, like, there's no guarantee just because we want him, we can get him. There's this notion that if you want someone who's available on a free, then everything else in life doesn't matter. The fact that there's other clubs that are also sort of trying to make a move, all that stuff's irrelevant. Daniel Levy out because we missed out on Tosin Adarabioyo.
Did you imagine?
What are we doing here? What are we doing here? We don't need Tosin Adarabioyo. Maybe we shouldn't have got Dragusin. Maybe Dragusin was a mistake. Maybe Tosin was the right answer, but he turned us down in the summer. We don't need another right-footed, right-sided centre-back. We need a left-footed, left-sided centre-back who can also play left-back. That's who we need. Tosin's not relevant. Am I wrong?
Sean, could you imagine, right, the meltdown here if our first 3 signings were Tosin on a free, Kelly on a free, and Timo on loan?
Yeah.
You know, certain people would be...
And Conor Gallagher.
They wouldn't be able to... Well, just those 3 on a loan. Personally, I've liked Tosin for over a year now, and I think he's a really good signing. But my worry is...
Again, we don't need him. We don't need... Maybe we should have got him instead of Dragusin, but we didn't. We don't need another player that can play in the same position as Romero and Dragusin.
I want Hincapié. If we're not going to go for Buongiorno, who I've been going on about now for over a year, from Torino, the Torino captain, a little bit nasty, very good, a leader, which I think we're missing. You know, I like him on the left as a left-sided centre-back, but if we can't go for him, you know, I'd love a Hincapié who can play at left-back or left centre-back, who's got pace and is young enough still to develop. But we must have backup. And I'm fearful again, we're going to have no backup left-back. We're going to have no backup right-back.
Well, I mean, the window hasn't even opened yet, Johnny. Let's not do this. Come on.
No. If we're selling, I'm saying we're so quick to sell, right? But we've seen it before, right? When with Destiny, we had no backup, and where we did with Sanchez, we got rid of him and had no backup right centre back. I'm just saying, I'm all for selling anybody.
I'd rather sell Emerson Royal this week than wait until August before you bring in a left and then worry about selling him later.
As long as I don't care who we sell, as long as we're buying a replacement, is my point.
Yeah. Well, I'd imagine we will be. Buongiorno is a good player. You know, for me, not the same level as Calafiori, but he's going to go to Juve. Dave, I'll bring you in on this one, mate. I mean, Tanganga, is the Tanganga deal done? Is he going to stay at Millwall?
He's out. He's done. He's done at Tottenham.
Yeah. And obviously, Joe Rodon's going to probably go to Leeds.
Yeah.
I mean, we'll talk about the kids in a minute, but in terms of like players coming in, we need a right back and a left back and a left-sided centre back. And in an ideal world, you cover that in 2 signings. You either get a left-sided centre back and you get a utility fullback, or you get a right back and a utility left-sided defender. Right? You don't want 3 players coming in. You need 2 players coming in to cover 3 positions, in my opinion. Am I wrong?
Look, personally, I actually don't think we need to be going into the market for a right back. I'd actually hang on to Emerson for another year and look to use that money in the midfield and up front. I don't think you need to sell him and go and replace him. Personally, I think we still need to bring up in another player to come in here and compete with Destiny Odoi. And, you know, a lot of people maybe are looking for a left-sided centre-back. I wouldn't write off Alfie Dorrington yet. You know, I've seen that guy play there for the U21's this season, and he can play out from the back. He can use his left and his right foot. So for me, I wouldn't write off him, you know, maybe in and around the squad next season and stuff like that. But for me, I think it's smart. You know, we know the board ain't going to go out and spend 300-400 million to address all our problems. So for me, I think you should be keeping Emerson. I think that money should be invested elsewhere. I don't get why we're going to sell Emerson and then look to bring in another right back here when there's other positions that need to be addressed more urgently right now.
Such as,
you know, holding midfielder, striker, right winger, you know. I think backup left back. You know, there's 4 or 5 more important positions than adding another position.
So you need a centre back, and a left back, and you'd be happy with. Is Lloyd Kelly the right option for me? Like, I sit there and kind of go, why are we letting the Newcastle deal?
Exactly.
Like, for me, Lloyd Kelly, I know he's underwhelming to many people, but actually, Van De Ven would be underwhelming if you watched him play for Fulham, or if you watched him play for Bournemouth last season, or Wolves, like teams that have a low block. Whereas Lloyd Kelly's got bags of pace. Lloyd Kelly for me is like, he's like a butterfly that's kept in a or a bird that's kept in a cage. You know, you can't. Better phrase. You can't. You don't know what you're missing until you see it in playing in a high line. And he was injured most of this year for Bournemouth's high line transition. Last season, the season before last, however you want to think of it, they were playing a different. Areola, before he came in, the previous manager was playing low block. When Areola first came in, was playing mostly low block. And Lloyd Kelly's been injured most of this season, just gone. But this guy's got pace. He can play left back and left-sided centre back. You're knocking off two birds with one stone, and you are also getting a guy who's homegrown. And he's a free transfer. Not that free transfers are free transfers; they're not. But like in terms of like logic, I don't understand why we're letting Newcastle have a free run at Lloyd Kelly. To me, it's madness.
I think we're looking at Branthwaite. You know, one thing I've learned with Paratici, don't look at the rumours. Look where the rumours aren't. That's one thing Paratici does. I've been saying this time and time again. He's going to put 10 stories out there, have 10 different Spurs channels chasing down each story. And then all of a sudden, a player comes out of the blue that you don't know about. Tomiyasu, we ended up bringing in Romero. Christian Eriksen, we ended up bringing in Bissouma, completely out of the blue. We weren't, no one was on the radar. So what Paratici does, he sends all the other clubs over here to bargain with Tottenham when we bring in this player over here on a cheaper price than maybe what we would play if there was competition. I think Tottenham will go for Branthwaite this summer. I just have a feeling homegrown, big
Everton
guy
are in a massive amount of problems, mate. Everton,
what's funny?
With 777 partners, Everton are screwed.
You know what, Dave? It's quite funny you mentioned that because last summer I was mentioning that the data guys had identified Branthwaite, right? This player called Branthwaite. And I must admit, right, I didn't know last summer too much about him. I'll be honest, right?
He's left-sided centre-back as well, didn't he?
Yeah, no, but I mean, the data guys had identified him as the player to get. And we didn't go for him. And at that stage, he was not a lot of money. Now they're asking for £60 million. So let's wait and see. But listen, he's a good player.
Well, they want 60 million quid, Johnny, but 777 partners are they're 200 million quid already in the hole to the guy.
Well, the Palace boy wants him, doesn't he? The Palace
Maswari, or wherever the guy's name is. It Maswari who owns Everton? I forget his name.
Yeah, no, but the guy who currently owns Crystal Palace, he owns 25%. He owns 25% of the voting shares, but 40% of the company is what I believe of Crystal Palace. He's looking to sell his stake in Crystal Palace. I think it's the Eagle Group, and then to buy Everton off of Mashawi. But let's be honest, right? Anyone who thinks they're going to be going in there picking up the club on the cheap is a different thing. But as was seen by some experts, they're saying already Everton are in breach of FFP for next season already.
Yeah, I mean, to me, I'm trying to think who the owner of the Eagle Group is, because I did a video about him because he was in the Brazilian...
The Crystal Palace guy. I know. The American.
The American guy. I did a video about him. I did the Brazilian resurgence of multi-club ownership on the other channel. Forget the guy's name.
I've forgotten as well. I've forgotten his name.
But
I know it's called the Eagle Group. I think it's called.
Yeah. But like, look, 777 partners are in a massive issue. That's why I think that I know Genoa, not to get off the topic, but like Genoa are also owned by 777 partners, and Albert Goodman has said that he wants to stay at Genoa. I think that if there's truth to the idea that this is one big giant Ponzi scheme, then not just Everton, but all of the teams that are in that Ponzi scheme, or all the teams that are owned by 777 partners in some form or fashion, will also be exposed to.
Was it Stade de Liège? Stade
de Liège is one.
Yeah.
Hertha Berlin is another.
Correct.
There's a team or two in Scandinavia. There's a team in Brazil. There's a team in Australia, and obviously Genoa as well. So, yeah, Albert Goodmanson, I think, is an interesting one. Even though he's already said John Texter. That's it, John Texter. Thank you, Flying Solo. Yeah. Appreciate that. A few people said it. Reece Jagger said it as well. Well done, boys. Look at you lot in the chat. Always listening in. So yeah, you guys are saying. So you're saying
just the three of us. What are you talking about? You mean? Hang on a minute.
I forget. Sometimes I forget. I forget. There's 900 people watching on YouTube, and that there's. So defensive options. So Dave, you're saying you think Jared Branthwaite is might be the target, and in terms of fullback, you wouldn't mind seeing Emerson Royal stay. Johnny, you're saying you would.
Well, I like
you like Emerson as well.
I like Buongiorno and I like Hincape on the left side. But I do think, look, I'm very happy to keep Emerson right as a squad player, but I think the way he's been treated by Ange will mean that he will go. I mean, if you're being offered first team football at AC Milan, Juventus, or Bayern Munich, who are the people talking to him, then I would be gone. You know, who needs to stay here for fan abuse when you can go there and play the football that suits your game? And let's be honest, this game, Ange Ball, does not suit Emerson Royal, unfortunately.
Talking about Ange Ball not suiting certain types of players, last topic of the evening, guys, and then we'll round off, is the goalkeeping space. Fraser Forster still at Tottenham Hotspur. I don't think the high football suits him. I thought, for what it's worth, I know you guys are going to talk about the goalkeeper, who's kept us in a lot about Gunter, who's kept us in a lot of our games recently. He's been phenomenal. But the news that I didn't expect to happen today is that Brandon Austin has earned himself a new 5-year deal, which runs until 2029. The guy is 25 years old already, has only ever made first team appearances, I think, in pre-season friendlies. I don't think he's ever made a first team appearance in actual first team football, competitive football. And he's going to sign a 5-year deal, which keeps him at the club until he's 30 years old. What are we doing here? What's the point? I don't get it in any way, shape, or form.
Listen, I mean, as far as I'm concerned, sorry, David, as far as I'm concerned, this is really peeing me off, right? Okay, already we got a tree that's in goal, right? He's a lovely fella, Fraser Forster, great at telling jokes, but he's a tree, right? I don't ever want to see that the replays. If anyone in doubt, just go and watch the Fulham penalty shootout to see what you're dealing with, right? Okay, that's not for us, right? Top clubs have top backups. Look at Arsenal. Look how many players, goalkeepers they've had in the last 4 years. It's like a who's who. Leno, Martinez, Ramsdale, Raya, and Turner. Look at ours. I'm sorry, like, we need a quality backup. And Brandon Austin, right? Okay, I don't understand. Sorry, I don't understand that one. He spilled it. What's the basics of a goalkeeper? When you get the ball, push the ball left, push the ball right, push the ball away. You don't spill the ball right in front of the player, in front of Isak. Anyway, back by the by. If we want to be serious contenders, we need to be looking at proper backup. And can I just leave? I just want to read you a stats, because I'm not listening to this anymore. Something has to change, right? Goal conceded this season, 52.
Hang about. I had this before the Timo Werner came in. This was going to be part of the talking points.
Oh, mine. Okay, this is what I put up. Yeah. Okay.
Read it out. Go for it.
Yeah. So goals conceded, right? 52, 17th in the league. Clean sheets, 7, 16th in the league. XG against, 52, 18th in the league. And save ratio, 61, 19th in the league, right? So we've added some superb defenders and a top keeper. So where do you feel the blame for these appalling Spurs defensive stats lie? Now, me personally, I believe it's the system that exposes everybody, because I think this is the best defence we've had since Toby and Jan. So that's,
I went for the attack is unable to retain, as you can see by the football boot.
Yeah, I can see that. So I think that, this is a question that we need to address. The stats are not lying here, and that they're quite alarming. And God forbid Big Vic gets injured. I'm not saying he is, but it's a hustle bustle. We've seen lots of keepers get injured this season. We've seen Pope, Martinez, and quite a few get injured. Edison, Alisson, they've all been injured this season. It's a little bit more aggressive. If he goes down, I do not want the tree in goal, and I do not want Brandon Austin in goal. You need to have a proper backup. And there's lots of quality younger keepers out there. Again, we don't want to block, like Dave and I were saying before, we don't want to block players like Gunter from coming to the fore. But I'm sorry, I don't want to go into the season with this. What do you think, Dave?
I expected him or Alfie Whiteman, one of them, to earn the contract. I said it in my keep loan or sell the other day. I think it was, I expected one of them to get the contract to be back up, to be third choice goalkeeper. And then, look, I think Austin has won it because Alfie Whiteman's been injured for a large part of the season since preseason. So I think Alfie Whiteman will probably be the guy that will probably end up letting go. Fraser Forster ain't going anywhere because we only extended a year on his contract, the option we had earlier on so far over the course of this season. And for me, when I look at it, I do get what you're saying about the backup goalkeeper. Look at the way Ortega stepped in for Ederson, example, right? I get it.
Look at Kelleher. Kelleher for Liverpool.
Yeah, Kelleher for Liverpool. I completely agree with you. However, we know the way the club operate. They're not going to get everything done in one window, and I think they're sort of trying to prioritize what really will add value to this football team going forward, and then maybe improve the other preliminary areas around it. Over the course of maybe the January transfer window or the summer window after that. I think we're going to go into this season with Vicario, Fraser Forster, Brandon Austin as your third choice, and what giving Brandon Austin, keeping him around his first choice does, it allows you to get Gunter out on loan next season. It allows you to get Keeley back out on loan next season too. Very highly rated.
5-year deal for the guy.
Because he's homegrown and they're going to look after the guy, but he's not going to last here 5 years.
Deal. Give the guy a 2-year extension. 5 years. What are we doing here?
And it's shambolic because his only loan move has been out to the MLS, and that didn't even go well. But it was either him or Alfie Whiteman, whose only other loan move was out to Sweden. So,
but Sean's right. 5 years. Give the guy 2 years, and even then he's he's hit the bloody jackpot.
But see, this is the thing. I don't think the club are going to go out and get a backup goalkeeper. I think Vicario will be it next season. I think Josh Keeley will step in after next season to be the backup. I think Brandon Austin will be kept around for third choice, and that allows you to develop Gunter as well. I think that's what the plan is. I don't think they have any plans to spend any money on the goalkeeping department.
Do you think Keeley will go back to Barnet?
That to me is absolutely dicing with death. Yeah. You are dancing with the devil. If one thing happens in this system, imagine the Chelsea scenario where Vicario had to come out 4 times, right? And he cleared every one of them. It was brilliant in that game, even though we ended up losing, but he was brilliant in that game. You then zoom forward to other games towards the tail end of the season. He started to come out, and then he went, "Oh no, shit! I'm too late," and then started backtracking. So all it takes is to get one of those things wrong. 3-game suspension because you red carded outside the box. 3-game suspension.
But look at Sanchez.
I don't disagree, but at the end of the day, I'm only the messenger, so don't shoot me.
No, but listen.
Dave, you, mate, are the problem. This is the problem with Tottenham fans. People like you that explain the situation. Don't you dare explain it with any logic.
Listen, I can't be dealing with people that say, yeah, but it's not going to happen. Look how many clubs lost their keeper last season, right? Sanchez was injured and Petrosic, whatever his name is coming. The City keeper was gone. The Liverpool keeper was gone. Martinez was gone. There's the Newcastle Pope was gone. There's been a lot of clubs. Crystal Palace lost Johnson. I think there were like 8 or 9 teams.
It wasn't that long ago. Hugo Lloris dislocated his elbow was it Southampton? I think it was. Do you remember that?
When he
was out for 4 months, wasn't he?
He quit against Newcastle, didn't he? And Fraser Forster came in then for the rest of the season.
Yeah, but I mean, like a couple of years ago, it was against the team on the south coast. He
dislocated Brighton. I was there. He collapsed right in front of me in the goal. He missed the ball and collided with the post.
I remember that. It landed awkwardly and it popped out.
Yeah.
All right, guys. Listen, wonderful show as always. I don't think I missed any super chats. Let me just double check. I haven't. If I don't think I have, I think I might have done actually. Here we go. Blaine Devlin. Sorry, Blaine. Completely forgot. It's not my preference, but setting cat amongst the pigeons. If we are targeting a proper CDM, this is from a while back. Sorry, mate. An hour ago. What do you guys think of a punt on Calvin Phillips on loan? Not for me. Don't think so, mate.
Blaine Devlin, you're a lovely fella, but if your doctor you need to go and speak to your doctor to check he's giving you the right pills.
Yeah, I don't know about Calvin Phillips. I don't think it's worked out at West Ham. I don't know. For me, not the guy.
Another man bun boy. All right.
Thank you for the super chat, mate. And extravagance. There you go. Extravagance.
We'll get there.
Jesus Christ, Sean. We are mudded with the Turbo Wiener news. He's not happy either. A lot of people aren't happy today. Guys, I want to say a massive thank you to you two for coming on. Guys, I want to say a massive thank you to everyone in the chat for the show. Hang around when we finish up here in 15 minutes. You're going to be redirected over to Henry Wright, who's doing his own show, I think, in 15 minutes' time. But we're out. Timo Werner is in, and so are the Levy out calls. Then somehow the summer window hasn't even started, but the meltdown has begun. As always, this is Tottenham Hotspur. What more could you expect than irrational, illogical, overindulgence in crazy thought processes? That's what we do on the Spurs Talk Show. Johnny and Dave, where can people find you, mate? Johnny, what's going on?
You can find me here, Johnny H3232 on Twitter. And if you get a chance to go on there, join in that poll and see, give a vote on that. Be interesting to see where that lies. It's sort of split between 2 or 3 at the moment. And if you go onto my account, if you go onto my Instagram, which is finally taken off again, where I post a lot of the game videos and stuff that's happened during the game. You know, like feigning injuries or a bit of pushing and shoving and stuff. And you can find me here, as always, on the Devil's Advocate, which could be on Tuesday, Wednesday or Thursday.
Be anytime.
Our regular slot.
Yeah. The only thing regular is its irregularity.
It's irregularity, correct.
Appreciate you, Johnny, mate. Thanks so much, mate. Get over to Johnny. There's the link in the title, in the thing. It's also in the description if you're watching this back. Dave, what's coming up on the Irish Hotspur, mate?
Yeah, just quickly, I was saying, just thinking we could make that into a Sunday poll. What day do you think Get Devil Advocate's going to be? And just have them guessing, No, look, for me, you can find me over at the Irish Hotspur. I put out content there. So, yeah, that's where you can find me if you like what I have to say. But make sure you, subscribe to these great lads. Make sure you do all the good stuff for them. Vote on the post, smash the subscribe button, all that sort of stuff. Thanks for having me and thanks for listening to me. And it's good to be back. I believe I was missed last week.
Yeah, 2 weeks ago. Last week we didn't do one. The week before, it was chaos. It was carnage.
I've got to be honest.
To be entirely honest, it was entirely my fault. I didn't realise. I completely forgot. I had a brain fart. That obviously Paul and Saba have got a little bit of history, and I brought them both on at the same time, and I was like, "Oh no, what have I done?" I completely forgot, and then of course it just unravelled into.
Well, he had his back as the hippie, but I mean, listen, Dave, it was no contest. You or the Australian hippie, honestly, the Tottenham hippie, not for me.
All right,
but
well,
yeah,
shout out to Paul as well. I love all content creators are welcome on this channel, with the exception of a couple. But anyway, like, subscribe, and comment, guys.
Because you and Paul would actually get on, I believe.
Who? Johnny and Paul? Or me and Paul?
No,
yeah, I actually think they'd get on. I just think they probably misunderstood each other on that day.
No.
Yeah.
Apparently, I'm not a fan. Apparently, Paul just came. He's never spoken to me, but he told me I'm not a fan and I'm an embarrassment and I'm a joke. It's a real way to come at someone, when you're having a discussion, to just go straight on the attack without actually having a conversation first. So he started off on the wrong foot. Anyway, moving on.
Moving on. Shout out to everyone. Love you all. And I will see you on the next one. Appreciate you, boys. Appreciate everyone in the chat. Thank you for the super chats. Come on, you Spurs. See you a couple of days.
To all you fans out there, happy.
See you
guys. Bye.